starting from capturing the stunning female boss. Born into poverty and burdened with debt, Yang Jiadong worked tirelessly as a delivery man, striving to save enough for his bride price. His fiancée cheated on him, and he faced threats from his female boss, his dignity as a man trampled upon. Everyone thought they could walk all over him, but he showed them what true capability is. Even delivering takeout, he managed to carve out his own path. With the rise of opportunities, watch as he transforms into a dragon in one fell swoop. Episode 1, The Awkward Request. Sleep with me, and I'll pay you. Yang Jiadong, carrying takeout, looked helplessly at the sexy female customer in her pajamas. Although he had encountered some strange customers while delivering food, this was the first time someone had asked him to sleep with them. Sorry, miss, I'm just a delivery man. My delivery time is almost up, and if I'm late, they dock my pay. Can I just mark the delivery as completed now? HMPH. If you dare, I'll file a complaint. Yang Jiadong felt a bit angry. This woman must be crazy. The woman glanced at him coldly. If you don't sleep with me, I'll complain and give you a bad review. Seeing that she was clearly looking for trouble, Yang Jiadong stopped wasting time. He quickly marked the delivery as completed. Just then, his phone rang. It was his girlfriend, Xiaolin. He quickly answered the call and headed downstairs. I'm here, but I'll be working overtime tonight. I won't be going home. Hearing Xiaolin's tired voice, Yang Jiadong responded, Don't overwork yourself. I'll find a way before we get married. Everything will be fine, we'll work hard together. Okay, I'll hang up now. Don't wait for me tonight. After hanging up, Yang Jiadong felt a little heavy-hearted. He and Xiaolin had been together for 3 years, and they were at the age where marriage should be discussed. However, her family didn't approve of him and demanded a dowry of 150,000, or they wouldn't allow her to marry him. To meet this demand, they had been working day and night, just hoping to get married as soon as possible. Sighing, Yang Jiadong hopped on his bike to continue taking orders. But as soon as he opened the app, his phone rang again. It was his manager calling. He quickly answered. Yang Jiadong, what the hell are you doing? Why did you get a complaint from a customer? Complaint? Yang Jiadong had a bad feeling in his heart. You need to go back and apologize right now. Got it. Do whatever she asks, or you can forget about your job. If their complaint reaches their headquarters and I get in trouble, you won't get a single penny of your salary this month, you hear me? Yang Jiadong didn't understand what was going on with this woman, but this job was crucial to him. Besides needing to save money for the wedding, his father was in the hospital, and the time to pay his medical bills was coming. He couldn't afford to lose this job. So, Yang Jiadong rushed back to the woman's place, knocked on the door, and the cold face of the woman appeared again. What do you want? What did I do to deserve this? Yang Jiadong couldn't help but complain. But the woman wasn't moved. After he finished speaking, she glanced at him and said, Are you done? Come in, let's talk. Yang Jiadong, confused about what the woman wanted, followed her inside. If she didn't retract the complaint, he would still be fired. Once inside, the woman directly asked, How much do you earn a day? I'll buy you for a year. Yang Jiadong was a bit angered. Sorry, I'm not for sale. My man cheated, and I want to get back at him. Name your price. Now Yang Jiadong understood why this woman was acting crazy. He said, I'm not for sale, so please withdraw their complaint. Thinking of Xiaolin working overtime to save up for the dowry, Yang Jiadong's heart ached. He couldn't possibly agree to such an unreasonable request. The woman, rejected by him repeatedly, stared at him and asked, What? Am I not beautiful? You're beautiful, but I can't betray my girlfriend. Hearing this, the woman didn't lash out. Instead, she calmly said, I'll pay you to talk to me. Just spend the day with me, talk to me, and you'll get paid. Yang Jiadong hesitated, his mind tempted, as he too needed the money. It seemed that the woman noticed his hesitation and said, Sit down. After a moment's hesitation, Yang Jiadong sat down. How much do you earn in a day? How much can you make in a year? The woman placed a small box, which had been sitting on the sofa, onto the coffee table, opened it, and revealed stacks of money. She began taking out the bills, stacking them on the table. Yang Jiadong stared at the piles of cash, stunned. He forgot to answer her question. his mind racing to figure out how much money could fit in this box. I think if you work like crazy for a month, you might earn around 10,000, right? She said, seeing that Yang Jiadong didn't answer. She kept pulling out more cash. If you agree to just talk to me, I'll give you 10,000. Yang Jiadong stared at the stacks of money, hesitated again, and then said, all right, I'll agree, but only to talk. The woman smiled and tossed him a stack of bills. You're smart. This is your pay for today. Holding the 10,000 in his hand, Yang Jiadong felt like he was dreaming. I'm serious and showing enough sincerity. Now, let us make a deal. A deal. First, sleep with me. Make that jerk husband of mine jealous, and I'll give you 50,000. No. Yang Jiadong rejected her without hesitation. The woman wasn't angry, as she had expected this reaction. Then let us talk about the second deal. Yang Jiadong was feeling helpless. I don't know what I could possibly offer you in exchange. You're beautiful, and you have money. You could easily find a man to sleep with. The woman looked at him, a hint of sadness in her eyes. She spoke seriously. My husband has a mistress. I want you to help me get my man back. Get your man back. I'm afraid I can't do that. If a man cheats, it's not something I can fix with just a few words. After saying this, Yang Jiadong felt a bit regretful. It seemed like he wouldn't be able to make this money after all. No, I'll handle my husband's situation myself. I want you to seduce his mistress. My husband hates women who cheat. If you seduce her and leave me evidence, my husband will naturally hate her and they'll break up. Then he'll come back to me. Once that happens, your task will be done, and you'll get 200,000. The woman gestured to the stacks of cash on the table. 200,000. Yang Jiadong was shocked. His mind immediately went to his father's medical bills and Xiao Lin's family's conditions. The woman noticed that he was interested and pushed the two large piles of cash towards him. Here's 200,000. You can count it. Looking at the scattered bills, Yang Jiadong's heart skipped a beat. He squeezed his thumb tightly, feeling a voice in his head urging him to take the deal. With 200,000, he could pay for his father's medical treatment and also have enough for his marriage with Xiao Lin. Episode 2, Making Money. I agree. I'll wear it, but I can't guarantee that woman will find me attractive. When Yang Jiadong agreed, the woman smiled. You're not bad looking. You should look even better once you're dressed up. You've got some muscles too. As she spoke, she pinched his arm and touched his chest. Yang Jiadong's face flushed. It felt like he was being teased by her. However, I have one condition. You say I'm only responsible for seducing her and letting your husband catch on. I'll need you to create opportunities, and I won't have any physical relations with her, Yang Jiadong declared, clearly stating his terms. He thought that as long as it was just flirting, without any emotional involvement, it wouldn't be considered cheating. Plus, he could make money from it, marry Xiao Lin, and resolve his troubles. It seemed worth the gamble. The woman casually tossed 2 stacks of bills at him. Okay, I can do that. I'll package you, give you an identity, and create situations for you to accidentally meet. All you need to do is spark that woman's interest, and I'll get the evidence. She was confident, and then a smile appeared at the corners of her mouth. Of course, if my husband catches on, you might get a beating. So, you still have a choice: sleep with me, take 50,000, and leave. The woman sized up Yang Jiadong with a look of clear interest. Yang Jiadong didn't hesitate. I'll choose the second option, but you need to retract your complaint. The woman sneered. Handling this for me is worth more than 2 years of delivery. Why continue delivering takeout? No, this is my job. I don't know if I can handle your business, and if I fail, I might lose my job. Yang Jiadong firmly shook his head. All right, do what you want. The woman seemed a bit disappointed with his lack of ambition. She took out 2 more stacks of cash and placed them on the table. This is your deposit. You can keep it, whether you succeed or not. Yang Jiadong didn't refuse and took the money. She then brought out 2 sets of clothes. Take these and buy yourself some decent clothes. Don't get any street market stuff, only brand name items, shirt, watch, tie, you need everything. Come to me tomorrow at noon. I want to see how you look. If you don't meet the standards, the money will be deducted from your commission. If I'm satisfied, it's yours. Looking at the 40,000 yuan that the woman casually handed over, Yang Jiadong was stunned. He couldn't help but marvel at the power of money. She wasn't afraid he'd run off with it. For her, this amount of money meant nothing, but what would happen if he didn't follow through? I can easily find your information. If I'm willing to give you 50,000 now, I can just as easily spend 500,000 to end your life. The woman's words sent a chill down his spine. However, she continued without hesitation. Since we're at this point, let us sign a contract. The woman ran a hand through her long hair, looking seductive, but there was an icy aura to her demeanor. She stood up, walked to the room, and quickly wrote out a contract. Yang Jiadong looked over the document. It all seemed fine, but there was one clause that caught his attention. If the task fails due to personal reasons, a tenfold compensation is required. Tenfold. So, if it's 200,000, I'll have to pay 2 million. Yang Jiadong was alarmed. Could this woman be setting him up? After a brief hesitation, he pointed at the clause. What does this mean? Don't worry about that. It's just to prevent you from messing around. As long as you follow my instructions, that clause doesn't count, she replied confidently. Besides, I don't think you have the money to pay it. It's just a restriction. Yang Jiadong furrowed his brows. That was true, he didn't have a car or a house, and even 20,000 would be a struggle for him, let alone 200,000. Upon further reflection, he realized that the contract was likely meant to be a way to control him rather than a real threat. It was more about restriction than anything else. Considering the 200,000 commission, he felt he could take the risk. Oh, I get it now. You're saying as long as I follow your instructions, even if I fail, it's not my fault, right? The worst case is I won't get paid. Yes, exactly. Now, you should tell me your name. Oh, and is there anything else I need to be aware of? My name is Julian, but from now on, you should call me boss. Just like you understand, there's nothing else you need to worry about. Just do what I tell you. And remember, without my number, don't come looking for me. All right, boss. Can I leave now? Yang Jiadong stood up. Go take care of your business. Come back tomorrow at noon, and bring another takeout order. Got it. Also, boss, please call my manager and tell him you've cancelled the complaint. Otherwise, I'll definitely get fired. Yang Jiadong nodded earnestly as he looked at Zhu Luyan. Okay, I'll call him. Take the money and go. Zhu Luyan waved her hand impatiently and glanced at her phone, which suddenly buzzed. As soon as she saw the screen, her expression darkened with anger. On the screen was a couple, hugging each other intimately as if they were a loving couple. Yang Jiadong hesitated but still took the 50,000 yuan and didn't he notice Zhu Luyan's sudden change in mood. He stood up to leave, heading towards the door. Wait! Zhu Luyan suddenly shouted, and before Yang Jiadong could react, she stepped forward, pushed him against the door, and kissed him forcefully. Taken by surprise, her hands started to roam across his body without hesitation. Yang Jiadong froze. He didn't understand what was going on with this woman. When he finally came to his senses, he pushed her away forcefully and wiped his mouth. What the hell are you doing? I gave you all this money. If I want to sleep with you now, is that not possible? Take off your clothes and pay me back. I'll give you another 100,000. Boss, I told you, I'm not selling myself. Please don't do this. Yang Jiadong's tone was firm. Why? What's wrong with me? I have money, I'm good looking, and I have a great figure. Aren't you men all about the new and the young? I'm letting you take advantage of me, and you don't even want it. I think you're the crazy one. That's someone else. I'm not that person. Sorry, I'm leaving now. Yang Jiadong quickly left Zhu Luyan's house, feeling humiliated and disgusted by her forceful attitude. Although he still couldn't let go of the money-making opportunity, he refused to be coerced into doing something he didn't want. Little did he know, after he left, Zhu Luyan sat on the sofa, sobbing quietly. As he returned to his e-bike, the bulging money in his pocket reminded him that he wasn't dreaming. He had been worried about his father's medical bills, but now he had 50,000 yuan. Yang Jiadong couldn't help but smile with excitement. He didn't even bother to accept more orders and quickly called his girlfriend. Episode 3, Acting. The phone rang for a long time before being picked up. Hello, Xiao Lin, I just made some money, and my dad's treatment fees are covered. Really? That's great. Let's keep working hard, har har har. Xiao Lin's voice sounded a bit strange, as if something was off. Huh? Xiao Lin, what's going on? Oh, nothing, just stretched a bit, feeling a little sore. By the way, how much did you earn? Oh, no problem. I'm still delivering takeout. Got her, hang up now. Yang Jiadong hurriedly hung up the phone. When Xiao Lin asked, he suddenly realized that he didn't have a good explanation for where the money came from, and he didn't have time to notice Xiao Lin's odd tone. After setting aside the call with Xiao Lin, Yang Jiadong went to the bank to deposit the money into his father's hospital account, temporarily solving part of the treatment fee. He finally felt relieved. He kept 5,000 yuan for himself as a backup and then used the 20,000 yuan from Zhu Luyin to buy a nice outfit. In the store, Yang Jiadong smiled at his reflection in the mirror, admiring his own handsome, slightly cold appearance. Normally busy with work, he had never taken the time to dress up like this, but now, with more confidence in completing the task, he privately vowed that once this was all over, he would marry Xiao Lin. That night, Xiao Lin came home late, and when she did, her face looked a little off. Yang Jiadong asked a few questions, but Xiao Lin just said she was fine. Maybe she was still shaken by Zhu Luyin's behavior earlier in the day, and now wanted some compensation. However, she was pushed away when she tried, citing exhaustion and quickly falling asleep. Yang Jiadong didn't think much of it. He knew Xiao Lin had been working hard for both of them, so he just assumed she was tired. This only made him more determined to finish the task. The next day, Yang Jiadong took a day off from work to deal with Zhu Luyin's matter. Although Zhu Luyin had cancelled the complaint and even called the manager to confirm that she wouldn't escalate things to the headquarters, the manager still wasn't friendly toward Yang Jiadong. Dressed in his new outfit, Yang Jiadong contacted Zhu Luyin and arrived at her apartment. He knocked gently on the door 3 times and waited obediently outside. Yang Jiadong felt uneasy, fearing that Zhu Luyin might behave like she did yesterday. But he had no choice but to keep his composure for the sake of the task. When Zhu Luyin opened the door and saw Yang Jiadong, her eyes lit up, and a smile appeared on her lips. Looks like the clothes really do make the man, Zhu Luyin thought. Yang Jiadong, now well dressed, matched her expectations. Even a young woman like her could feel a bit attracted to him. She felt she had made the right choice and now had more confidence in the plan. Boss, here's your takeout. Yang Jiadong smiled and handed her the bag. Inside the room, Zhu Luyin wasn't in her pajamas as before. She was wearing a sleek black suit, exuding a professional vibe. Yang Jiadong couldn't help but notice that her black stockings under the A-line skirt caught his attention. But he quickly reined in his thoughts and felt a bit more at ease. At least she seemed emotionally stable now. Here's the information on that woman. Take a look. I'll arrange for you to meet later. Zhu Luyin sat on the sofa, crossed her legs, and handed Yang Jiadong a folder with information. Yang Jiadong opened the folder and flipped through it. The woman's name was Yi Jining, and there were several photos of her dressed stylishly. She was a very beautiful woman, the kind that could make any man's heart race. The information was very detailed, from her birth date to her work history. Yang Jiadong thought to himself, collecting all this must have taken a lot of time. Zhu Luyin might have planned this from the start. Now, here's the deal. When you meet her, your identity will be the administrative supervisor of Zhanyang Company, with an annual salary of 3 million yuan. You'll also have a condo on the 17th floor of the Kerry Tower, 1 Ring Road. Here's the key. You'll be driving a Mercedes, parked downstairs. During the mission, I'll provide the funds you need. Here's the card. The password is the last 6 digits of the card number. Zhu Luyin finished speaking and tossed him 2 keys and a bank card. Yang Jiadong felt like he was dreaming. A car, an apartment, money, status — this was the kind of life many men dreamed of achieving after a lifetime of struggle. But as he held these things in his hands, he bitterly smiled to himself. They were all just props for the mission, not things that truly belonged to him. I understand. What's next? Come with me. I've already arranged everything. You'll meet her soon. However, Zhu Luyin added a reminder, I need to warn you. If you continue delivering takeout and your true identity is exposed, you'll have to compensate me for my losses according to the contract. Zhu Luyin stood up, her voice cold. Yang Jiadong's eyes widened. It only then dawned on him that if things went wrong, he would have to pay 2 million yuan as compensation. Where could he get that kind of money? He suddenly hesitated. What's wrong? Are you scared now? Zhu Luyan looked at him with a mocking smile. If you stop delivering takeout, then the whole thing is safe, right? Okay, I get it. I'll plan my time properly. Don't worry, if it's my fault, I'll take responsibility. The temptation of the 200,000 yuan was huge, especially since he'd already spent the deposit. Yang Jiadong couldn't back out now, nor did he want to miss this opportunity. Besides, he still depended on delivering takeout to make a living, so he couldn't afford to give up. He figured that if he was careful while delivering, there shouldn't be a problem. Let us go. Zhu Luyan sneered, leading Yang Jiadong to the car. Soon, they arrived at a quiet street outside the 5th Ring Road. Zhu Luyan pointed at a uniquely decorated coffee shop and said, "That's out the place. The target comes here every afternoon for coffee, so he should be leaving soon. I'll arrange for someone to steal his bag, and you'll happen to walk by and rescue it." Got it. Classic hero saves the beauty. Yes, exactly. It's an old trick, but it works. All right, no problem. Who's going to steal the bag? Yang Jiadong asked. Don't worry about that. Someone else will take care of it. Go to the corner and wait for my message. Once you get it, go ahead. Yang Jiadong smiled faintly and straightened his clothes in the car mirror before following Zhu Luyan's instructions and heading to the street corner. He looked around. The area was quiet, with only a few cars passing by. No wonder they had chosen this spot for their robbery. If it were in the city center, he might not have had a chance to play the hero. Soon, his phone buzzed with a message. After reading it, he smiled and walked out. Episode 4, The Scheme. As soon as he turned the corner, he saw a tall and beautiful woman walking toward him. Jiadong had shoulder-length hair, an oval face, and wore a pair of sunglasses. She was dressed in a white off-the-shoulder top with a floral checkered skirt and a designer handbag hanging from her shoulder. The woman walked slowly, with a leisurely air about her. Yang Jiadong walked past her without looking sideways, but took a quick glance. Jiadong was even more beautiful than in the photos, and he couldn't help but feel a bit regretful. Such a pretty girl, why would she choose to be a mistress? As they got closer, Jiadong slightly turned her head and seemed to notice the handsome man approaching her. This man looked extraordinary, and Jiadong couldn't help but look at him more, but her sunglasses concealed her gaze. They were getting closer, and just as they were about to pass each other, Yang Jiadong's heart began to race. What was going on? Where was the robbery they had arranged? Why hadn't it happened yet? Suddenly, the roar of an engine sounded from behind. A man wearing a helmet on a motorcycle sped toward them. In a flash, the man reached out and snatched the handbag from Jiadong's hand, then sped away on the motorcycle. Jiadong staggered and let out a loud scream, "Robbery!" She looked around frantically, and her gaze seemed to fall on Yang Jiadong, who had just passed by. Yang Jiadong furrowed his brows, looking at Jiadong. Inside, he was filled with frustration. Was this really happening? A motorcycle robbery? Is this woman reliable or not, he thought. Do I really have to chase after the motorcycle? But the job had already started, and there was no turning back now. If Zhu Luyan accused him of not doing his best and demanded the 2 million yuan compensation, he wouldn't have a leg to stand on. With that thought, Yang Jiadong gathered all his strength and chased after the motorcycle. Fortunately, luck was on his side. The motorcycle was blocked by a large truck and had to slam on the brakes. The robber had no choice but to turn the bike around and head toward the street corner. Seeing this, Yang Jiadong ran even harder. He had to catch the thief. If he lost him now, it would be all for nothing. As he rounded the corner, he saw the motorcycle had indeed stopped. Yang Jiadong felt a sigh of relief. Thank goodness that the woman had some sense. Otherwise, even if he ran his legs off, he wouldn't have caught up to the motorcycle. He took a few steps forward, placing his hands on his hips to catch his breath, and stretched out his hand. All right, buddy, hand over the bag. The man on the motorcycle kept revving the engine, but the bike refused to start. After a few tries, he reluctantly dismounted, holding the bag in one hand and pulling out a knife from his pocket with the other. Seeing the knife, Yang Jiadong's brow furrowed. He took a step forward, a little annoyed. Hey, come on, this is just a show, no need to take it so seriously. But the man with the helmet didn't seem to want to hand over the bag. Instead, he raised the knife, making threatening gestures. What's going on here? Yang Jiadong muttered to himself. It's just a little act. No need to be so serious about it. The man was still holding the knife threateningly, and Yang Jiadong stepped forward again, trying to grab the bag. Suddenly, the knife flashed in the air, and the man slashed it at Yang Jiadong. Startled, Yang Jiadong quickly stepped back. But even with his quick reaction, he still got a shallow cut on his arm. His freshly bought clothes were torn, and a small wound appeared on his left arm, bleeding rapidly. Seriously, this is my new clothes. How am I supposed to explain this when I get back? Yang Jiadong thought, feeling both angry and frustrated. Those clothes cost him several thousand yuan. Though they were paid for by Zhu, it still made him feel a bit of a pinch. Now, with the clothes ruined, he'd have to buy new ones. But would Zhu pay for that again? The man in the helmet, seeing the anger on Yang Jiadong's face, stepped back nervously, his hand still trembling with the knife pointed at him. Yang Jiadong checked his watch. It had been a while since he started chasing, and he was getting anxious. Despite the wound, he didn't have time to care about it. Enough with the games. Hand over the bag, or I won't be so polite. Yang Jiadong warned, losing his patience. The man looked around, seemingly hesitating, and started stepping back. Damn it! I don't have time to deal with you dragging this out. Yang Jiadong was already furious. He took a step forward and kicked the man in the chest. The actor instinctively swung the knife, but Yang Jiadong had already anticipated it and dodged it. His kick landed squarely in the actor's chest, sending him crashing to the ground. Panicking, the actor dropped the bag and ran away, not even bothering with his motorcycle. Yang Jiadong stepped forward, picked up the bag, and let out a frustrated sigh. What was all that for? So professional, but for what? Did they think it was a movie? Feeling the pain in his arm, he finally checked the wound. Fortunately, it was just a scratch. There was quite a bit of blood, but nothing serious. Yang Jiadong was still annoyed, but as he looked at the wound, he realized that it could serve as proof that he had risked his own safety to retrieve Jiadong's bag. He walked back toward her, still holding the bag, his brows slightly furrowed. As he rounded the corner, he saw Jiadong waiting in the same spot. Yang Jiadong let out a sigh of relief, at least he had wasted his time. He approached her, and Jiadong quickly came over to him. Your bag? Yang Jiadong asked. Jiadong was surprised to see her bag returned to her. She took off her sunglasses and said gratefully, "Thank you." Seeing her remove her sunglasses, Yang Jiadong's eyes brightened. She was truly beautiful. No problem, just be more careful next time. He couldn't help but admire her, but kept a cool, composed expression. Where's the thief? She asked. Oh, he ran off. Yang Jiadong glanced at his arm. It's just a small injury. No big deal. Jiadong wanted to check his wound but felt it would be too forward. Hesitating, she hovered her hand in mid-air, unsure whether to touch it or not. It's nothing, Yang Jiadong added, trying to sound casual. Episode 5 Psychology. I secretly thought that Jiadong should thank me next, taking me to see a doctor, treating my wounds, eating and chatting, and we got to know each other naturally. Next, I just need to slowly cultivate feelings. Maybe with luck, I can quickly complete Jiadong's task with a home run. But when Yang Jiadong looked at Jiadong, he suddenly noticed that there didn't seem to be much gratitude in this woman's beautiful eyes, but a sense of rightness. Yang Jiadong felt that he seemed to have missed something. If he really went with the trend, would it be as easy as he imagined to get in touch with Jiadong? Your clothes are torn and bleeding. I'll take you to see a doctor. After all, you were injured to help me, and I can't just ignore you. Jiadong's caring advice was as expected. Well, it's troublesome. Yang Jiadong didn't refuse. In fact, the knife wound did need to be treated. Fortunately, there was a clinic nearby. After a simple treatment, the two stood on the street. Thank you. Yang Jiadong smiled slightly and began to calculate what to do next. He glanced at the street and saw Zhu staring at him in the car not far away. Why are you the one saying thank you? I should thank you. Jiadong smiled politely. Hearing his words, Yang Jiadong felt a little troubled. Jiadong didn't seem to want to continue to contact him. Is this the end? Looking around, he happened to find a cafe nearby. Do you have time now? Why don't I treat you to a cup of coffee? Alas, my hand still hurts a little, so I just need to rest for a while. Yang Jiadong could only take the initiative to invite. Yijiani seemed to have a hint of helplessness in her eyes, but she still smiled and nodded. Okay then. The two walked into the cafe together. Yijiani seemed to be very familiar with the cafe. While Yang Jiadong was still observing the layout here, the woman had already walked towards a seat. Yang Jiadong hurriedly followed, and a waiter came over at the same time. You two, it's not expensive to have a drink. The two people almost said the name of this coffee at the same time. Yijiani looked at Yang Jiadong with some surprise, and then smiled. After the waiter left, Yang Jiadong asked with a smile. Well, the coffee here tastes good, the environment is also very good, and there are many books I like to read. Yijiani said, and took a book from the bookshelf next to the seat. This coffee shop is decorated in a unique way. There is a bookshelf next to the seat, on which are placed different kinds of books. Yang Jiadong's eyes lit up when he noticed the book Yijiani took. Through the Long Tunnel of the Limit, it is the Snow Country legend. Have you read Can Works? Yijiani was a little surprised. Well, in poverty, there is a strong vitality. There is a strong vitality. This is a paragraph in the book. When Yang Jiadong read it, Yijiani also read it. After reading it, the two smiled at each other, as if they had found like-minded friends, which was great. Let me introduce myself. My name is Yijiani. What about you? It seems that after winning the favor of this woman this time, Yijiani finally wanted to get to know Yang Jiadong. Yang Jiadong actually came to this coffee shop occasionally. In order to avoid mistakes, he chose to use his real name. These seemingly coincidental interests were all homework done by Yang Jiadong after he got Yijiani's information. She put in a lot of effort for this commission. Is that so? I often come here to drink coffee. Why haven't I seen you? Maybe the time is inconsistent. I mostly come in the morning, or I don't come when I'm too busy at work. So what do you do? Trade? Oh, foreign trade. When Yang Jiadong finished this sentence, he realized that although the two of them were sitting in the coffee shop, there was actually nothing to talk about. If they continued to stay like this, I'm afraid there would be no progress. If they wanted to get it right in one go, I'm afraid they were not ready yet. He began to analyze various possibilities quickly in his mind, and then pretended that a message came in his mobile phone. After taking it out and reading it, he said apologetically, "Oh, sorry, there are still some things to deal with in the company, and I am out of training now." After that, Yang Jiadong got up and left the coffee shop. Yijiani watched him leave in such a hurry. In addition to some surprise in her eyes, there seemed to be a little curiosity. She wanted to call him, but in the end, she opened her mouth and said nothing. Yang Jiadong walked out of the coffee shop, looked back slightly, and quickly walked to the car that was still not far away. He opened the door and got in, and couldn't help complaining, "Is the person you found reliable? Not only did he rob me with a knife, but he also cut me with a knife. If I didn't dodge, wouldn't he have cut me open? I went to seduce women for you, not to risk my life." Zhu Luyun was in no mood to listen to Yang Jiadong's complaints, and asked angrily, "You actually came back. Why didn't you come back? Are you still waiting to treat me to dinner? First of all, the clothes were torn because of work. I am not responsible. I will not reimburse you for the medical expenses." Yang Jiadong raised his hand to signal you not to talk nonsense to me. You just came back so easily. Such a good opportunity was wasted. You were injured for him. Shouldn't he repay you? You shouldn't have taken the opportunity to hook up with him, and then went to their hotel to get a room and had sex with him. You actually came back like this? Zhu Luyun asked angrily. His accusation made Yang Jiadong a little unhappy. After pulling the corner of his mouth, he patiently explained, "Oh, what if you really think it's so simple? Why don't you try someone else? I can tell you clearly that today's development can only be like this. Any other actions will not have any meaning, and it may even cause Yijiani's disgust. I was injured for her, but he just thanked me in a very ordinary way, and he didn't even have the intention to continue to contact me. What should I do? You look like a decent person, but you can't even chase a woman. That woman is a bitch, and anyone can fuck her. How can you be sure that she won't go to a hotel with you if you don't flirt with her a little more? Of course I'm sure. Yang Jiadong answered seriously. First, she is a very beautiful woman. When you beautiful women see a man nearby, they will narcissistically think, oh, is this man interested in me? Then trying to chat with me, psychologically speaking, is it a playful mentality? Second, although she is supported by your man, she must have money. You rich people think that things that can be solved with money are simple things. Although I helped him and was hurt by it, he only felt grateful to me, but no feelings. Even going for coffee was suggested by me first, which could not achieve our desired goal, not to mention going to a hotel. The best result is that after he gives me a sum of money to express his gratitude, we will never see each other again. If things go wrong, he may even feel disgusted with me, and then the plan will be ruined. Even if I shamelessly invite him to dinner and try to get in touch with him, he will always have a repulsive mentality towards me and think that I am deliberately approaching him. Episode 6 Wrongdoings. After hearing Yang Jiadong's explanation, Zhu Luyan frowned and thought about it. After thinking carefully, it seems to be true. So, it is best to stop at the right time and make him curious about me. In this way, in the next contact, this curiosity will gradually turn into a good impression, and let him take the initiative to approach me, so that we can better achieve our goals. Psychology says that when a woman becomes curious about a man, she will gradually be attracted to this man. Humph, I didn't expect you to understand psychology. Zhu Luyan sneered. Although he didn't want to admit it, he felt that it made sense after listening to this analysis. Har har, I understand a little bit. Is the wound okay? Zhu Luyan looked at the bandage on the man's arm. He is still not dead. Can the person you found be more reliable? That guy really wants to fight me to death. Of course, you have to do the whole set of acting, so that it will appear real. Zhu Luyan explained confidently, but his eyes were dodging unnaturally. Real. Real means I will get hurt, right? If he had a gun, wouldn't I have to block the bullet? Yang Jiadong widened his eyes. This accident is fine, don't be so petty, the clothes are torn, I will buy you new ones, and I will compensate you for the injury. Okay, is 10,000 enough? Zhu Luyan had a hard face to comfort. Oh, forget it, let's just leave it at that. Today, if you want to make new progress, you still need to make some arrangements. What are your plans for the future? Yang Jiadong waved his hand, and didn't want to care about what had already happened. I don't have any plans for the future. Zhu Luyan was embarrassed. No plans, do you think I'm a love saint? If you hook your fingers, women will go to bed with me. Yang Jiadong widened his eyes, but could only see Zhu Luyan smirking, holding back the helplessness in his heart. The man closed his eyes. Oh, let me think about it first. Well, Yi Jiani gives me the impression that she is not a simple woman. You'd better investigate her in detail, especially how she came into contact with your man. No problem, then you arrange the next things, and I will listen to your arrangements. You have worked hard today, otherwise I will treat you tonight. Zhu Luyan wanted to ease the relationship. After all, it was his mistake that caused Yang Jiadong to be injured, and he dared not say it clearly. The actor had an accident today, and the man just now was really robbing. No need, I will go back to have dinner with my girlfriend tonight. This dress is torn, you can buy me another one according to the size. Put it with you first, and I will take it next time I have a mission. After speaking, Yang Jiadong looked out the window, as if he didn't want to talk anymore. Zhu Luyan knew that she was in the wrong, and after taking a deep breath, she drove Yang Jiadong away. After changing into a new set of clothes, Yang Jiadong rode his electric bike to deliver a few more takeout orders, but with Zhu Luyan's instructions, he wore sunglasses and a mask when delivering takeout to avoid possible encounters. When Naixiaolin returned home in the evening, she prepared a table of delicious meals. Seeing Yang Jiadong coming back, she came forward and gave him a warm hug. Why did you reject me last night, but throw yourself into my arms today? Oh, you actually made so many delicious foods. What's going on? Yang Jiadong asked with a smile, touching the woman's hair. I was just too tired last night, but I can make it up to you tonight. You can do whatever you want. Naixiaolin blushed and leaned on Yang Jiadong. Yang Jiadong felt hot in his heart after hearing this. He hugged Naixiaolin and kissed her, then patted him on the back. I will definitely satisfy you tonight. Let's eat first. I'm hungry. Well, come on, I made your favorite sweet and sour pork ribs. By the way, I went to the hospital to see my uncle today. I was worried that your father's treatment fee was not enough, but I heard that you saved more than 10,000 yuan. Did you get paid? No, you can't get so much money even if you get paid. You called me yesterday and told me that you made a lot of money. Naixialan picked up a piece of ribs and put it in Yang Jiadong's bowl. Hearing his girlfriend's question, Yang Jiadong's heart skipped a beat, and he kept thinking about how to explain it. Although he was very panicked, he still picked up the ribs slowly and put them in his mouth to taste them. He nodded with satisfaction. It tastes really good. Wow, don't change the subject. I'm asking you about business. Of course I made a lot of money. I stepped on dog shit when I went out yesterday. I thought I was lucky, so I bought a 50 yuan scratch card. I didn't expect to win 20,000 yuan. 20,000 yuan, just enough to relieve the pressure of my father's medical expenses. Yang Jiadong thought of an excuse. What? Won 20,000 yuan. Oh my god, so much, you are so lucky, why didn't you tell me yesterday? We should go celebrate. But for things like luck, it's okay to win once. You must not fall into it. Don't worry, I only buy it occasionally. You were too tired when you came back last night, so I didn't have a chance to tell you. Let's go out for a good meal some other day. Forget it. How much does it cost to go out for a meal? We have to save all our money now. I really want to marry you soon. Naixialan suddenly shook her head sadly, and then looked at Yang Jiadong expectantly. Xiaolin, don't worry, I will work harder, and soon, I will be able to save enough money, and then marry you openly. Yang Jiadong put down his chopsticks and hugged Naixialan with emotion. This woman has been with him for several years. She doesn't ask for food or clothes. She doesn't even want to buy a good thing on weekdays. She puts all her heart on her. With such a good reputation, what else can a husband ask for? By the way, look. As he said, he took out his mobile phone and transferred 10,000 yuan to the man's card under Yang Jiadong's gaze. Xiaoli, this is something I haven't told you yet. I recently made a big order, and the company gave me a reward and commission. Tonight is also to celebrate this matter. Take this money. If your uncle needs money, you don't have to worry so much. Xiaolin, you are so good to me, I don't know how to repay you. Yang Jiadong looked at his woman affectionately. In fact, it is very simple to repay me. Naixialan suddenly blushed and looked at Yang Jiadong shyly. As a man, seeing his woman like this, don't you know what to do? Don't eat dinner. Yang Jiadong picked up Naixialan by the waist and walked to the bedside with the woman's exclamation. Now eat this affectionate woman first. Yang Jiadong took off his clothes and revealed his dark and strong body. After being exposed to the sun for a long time, his skin color formed a sharp contrast with Naixialan's skin color. Episode 7 Drunk Woman. Soon, Yang Jiadong leaned against the bed and lit a cheap cigarette. In order to save money, he rarely smoked. This box of cigarettes was bought a month ago, and there are still a lot left. Only when he is particularly depressed or particularly relaxed, he will have such a cigarette to relieve his craving. Naixialan noticed the bandage on the man's arm and asked with concern, Jiadong, how did you get hurt? It's okay, I helped when delivering food to customers and wiped it. Then you should be careful, don't agree to anything too dangerous. Well, I know, I was just careless, but it's worth it to get a 5-star good review. Oh, it's better than giving a bad review, don't worry. Well, you've worked hard too. When things ease up a little, you don't have to deliver food. Find an easier job and you can live a decent life. Naixialan touched Yang Jiadong's arm distressedly. That's not okay. If you marry me, I will definitely raise you better. I have to work harder to make money so that you can give me a big fat boy and raise both of you and your mother to be fat and plump. You are so beautiful. But I don't want to get fat. Yeah, that's right. A hint of shyness flashed in Naixialan's eyes, and then her eyes swayed slightly left and right, and she said seriously, Jiadong, if I do something wrong for us, will you forgive me? Do something wrong? What test? I'm just asking, it's just a metaphor, I just want to see how much you love me. Naixialan's eyes were slightly evasive. You said it was for us, then no matter what, I will forgive you. But, Xiaolin, don't work too hard, I'm a man, just leave these things to me. Yang Jiadong shook his head, smiled and answered, touching her hair comfortingly, you are so nice, so fragrant, marry you quickly. I think as long as we work together, we will soon be able to live a good life.
Jiadong happily leaned closer to Yang Jiadong's arms. Don't worry, it will be soon. He looked at the misty distance, but his expression was extremely serious. He looked at the woman nestled in his arms. He seemed to have made a decision in his heart. He hesitated for a moment and felt a little uneasy. Xiaolin, let me ask you, if I do something wrong for us, will you forgive me? No. Unexpectedly, Xiaolin answered without hesitation. Hearing this answer, Yang Jiadong was stunned for a while. My man will not do anything wrong. I believe that what my man does for us is right. If you really make a mistake, I will definitely not forgive you. But I will not separate from you. I want to be with you forever. Hey! You actually tricked me. Punish you. Yang Jiadong breathed a sigh of relief and turned around to press Xiaolin under him to tickle him. Xiaolin resisted the tickling with a smile, but the tickling action gradually changed its taste. Unconsciously, the two began to breathe heavily. The next day, Yang Jiadong delivered food as usual. He thought Zhu Luyun would go to investigate Yi Jiani's affairs today and would not contact her. Unexpectedly, the man received a call in the afternoon, asking him to go to Zhu Luyun's house. There was no way, the woman was the boss now. After Yang Jiadong quickly delivered the food in his hand, he rode his bike to Zhu Luyun's apartment. After standing at the door to tidy up his clothes, he knocked on the door. After waiting for a while, the door opened, and Zhu Luyun stood in front of him again in a thin pajamas, leaning against the wall at the door in dishevel, holding a bottle of red wine with not much left in his hand. Seeing a drunken smile on Yang Jiadong's face, Yang Jiadong frowned slightly. As soon as he opened the door, he smelled a strong smell of alcohol. I don't know how much this woman drank at home. Come in and close the door. Zhu Luyun said leisurely, turned and walked towards the sofa, and took another sip of the red wine in his hand. Yang Jiadong was a little nervous. This woman had a strange temper and drank so much wine. She called him to prepare for the matter. But in order to earn the 200,000 yuan, he had to go even if he had to bite the bullet. Otherwise, if he offended her, wouldn't the 200,000 yuan be gone? As soon as he closed the door, he saw Zhu Luyun turning around stupidly. Her lower body was unstable and she was about to fall. She took a step forward quickly and just held Zhu Luyun in her arms. Are you okay? Hey, be careful. Seeing Zhu Luyun drunk like this, Yang Jiadong frowned. It's okay. It was quite fun just now. Zhu Luyun leaned on Yang Jiadong directly and said that he was going to pick up the bottle to drink again. Don't drink, look at what you have drunk. Yang Jiadong took the bottle away from him unhappily. What are you doing? I am your boss, when is it your turn to manage me? Zhu Luyun struggled to stand up immediately, frowning and scolding. However, just after finishing speaking, he touched his forehead and was about to fall down again. Yang Jiadong felt helpless, but he could only go forward to support Zhu Luyun and settle her down on the sofa. Seeing that he was too drunk, Yang Jiadong looked around, found a cup, poured a cup of warm boiled water in his house and sent it to him. Come, drink water. Yang Jiadong fed the water to the woman's mouth. What is this? I want to drink. Zhu Luyun took a sip and angrily blocked the cup, and the water spilled on the man. Fortunately, it was not boiling water, otherwise he would have been scalded. Yang Jiadong was a little angry, but he held back his temper. Now this woman is so drunk, I don't know why she called me here. In desperation, I had to help him sober up. I found the bathroom and brought out a basin of hot water to wipe his face. Unexpectedly, the woman got excited immediately when she saw the basin. Taking a bath. I like it the most. As she said that, she began to take off her clothes under Yang Jiadong's gaze. Yang Jiadong's eyes widened immediately. What the hell is going on? He quickly put down the basin and stepped forward to stop him. It must be said that Zhu Luyun has a very good figure, but Yang Jiadong understands his identity. After forcibly putting clothes on Zhu Luyun, he hugged her tightly to prevent her from doing stupid things again. Boss, what do you want me to do? Yang Jiadong is already a little impatient. Give up your working time and come to see him messing around. Don't you know what I want you to do? What? Am I not beautiful? Episode 8 Trying on Clothes. Zhu Luyun looked at Boss Yang Jiadong with drunken eyes. Boss, oh, Zhu Luyun, don't do this. Yang Jiadong kept dodging, trying to push Zhu Luyun away, but the woman looked helpless like an octopus. What on earth did she want to do? If it were an ordinary man, he might have just taken advantage of the situation and slept with Zhu Luyan, but Yang Jiadong had Naisielan in his heart. Every time he thought of Naisielan working hard for their relationship, he couldn't bear to do anything to hurt his girlfriend. Feeling that Zhu Luyan had already started to take action, the man quickly shouted, "Boss, your husband is back. Howren is back. Howren." Howren's words really brought Zhu Luyan back to her senses. She quickly stood up from Yang Jiadong's body, hurriedly tidied her clothes, and looked at the door expectantly. When she saw the closed door, Zhu Luyan's originally expectant look became lonely, and then she sat down on the sofa decadently. After a moment of stunnedness, she buried her face between her legs. How could Howren come back? He went with that vixen, how could he come back? He hasn't been back for a long time. Zhu Luyan sobbed. Seeing Zhu Luyan's sad look, Yang Jiadong felt a little bit reluctant. He sat up and tidied his clothes. He wanted to comfort her, but he didn't know what to say. The woman squatted on the sofa, hugging her legs. Under her loose pajamas, her white legs were fully exposed, and the scenery under her skirt was also exposed to Yang Jiadong without any cover. Looking at the empty bottles around, there were many beer, red wine and even white wine. It seemed that the woman was depressed and drank a lot. "Oh, don't cry, he didn't come back because he didn't know how good you are." Yang Jiadong tried to pat Zhu Luyan's shoulder. He couldn't bear to see the woman cry. After being comforted by Yang Jiadong, Zhu Luyan threw herself into the man's arms and burst into tears. Perhaps she was tired of crying, and with the influence of alcohol, Zhu Luyan finally fell asleep. Seeing that she finally fell asleep, Yang Jiadong picked her up and put her in the bedroom. It seems that this afternoon should be a waste of time. This woman was drunk, and he couldn't tell her what he asked her to do. Yang Jiadong wanted to leave and continue to deliver food, but he couldn't let go of the drunk Zhu Luyan. "Oh, forget it. For the sake of 200,000 yuan, I will take care of you today." Having made a decision in his heart, Yang Jiadong filled hot water again and wiped Zhu Luyan's body. Although Zhu Luyan was very beautiful and sexy, Yang Jiadong did this task without distraction, and then cleaned up the room for him. "I was bored for a while, so I could only stay beside Zhu Luyan and browse my phone. After several hours, I heard the woman murmured for water, and Yang Jiadong quickly helped her up to feed her water. After drinking a glass of water, Zhu Luyan's confused eyes gradually recovered. Qingming was slightly surprised when he saw Yang Jiadong beside him. Looking at the surrounding environment, he quickly dodged, grabbed the quilt to cover his chest, leaned against the head of the bed and asked vigilantly, "Why are you here? What did you do to me?" "Oh, boss, think about it carefully, okay?" Yang Jiadong rolled his eyes and reminded helplessly. Zhu Luyan's eyes showed memories. After looking around, he said apologetically, "Well, sorry, I drank a little too much and didn't react. Can you wait for me in the living room first?" Yang Jiadong shrugged and walked out of the room. He was thinking that this woman had said that he wanted to have sex with her before, but now she was so reserved. Soon, Zhu Luyan changed into conservative clothes and walked out. Seeing the cleaned room, he felt even more ashamed. "Thank you, it seems that you should have cleaned the room for me. It's a piece of cake. Now that you are awake, can you tell me what you asked me to do?" Information, I have investigated the information you want for you." Zhu Luyan found a document from his bag. Yang Jiadong took it and read it carefully. At the same time, Zhu Luyan took out a box from the room. "This is your dress. The last one was torn, so I bought you 2 new ones. Try them on and see if they fit you. Okay, put them there first. I made steamed eggs for you in the kitchen. You drank so much wine, and I don't know if you've eaten. It'll be troublesome if you hurt your stomach. I don't know if it suits your taste, so just make do with it. Well, if you don't like it, let's order takeout." Yang Jiadong said as he read the documents. Zhu Luyan glanced at the kitchen in surprise. She didn't expect that this man actually made food for her. Feeling the malice in his stomach, he walked into the kitchen and brought out a bowl of steamed eggs that looked good. He took a bite and it tasted good. Soon, he finished the steamed eggs in no time, and he looked like he was still not satisfied. "I finished reading the information. I'll come to you tomorrow afternoon and give you a plan." Yang Jiadong closed the information and stood up to leave. "You're leaving? Don't you want to try the clothes?" Zhu Luyan suddenly felt reluctant to see Yang Jiadong leave. Well, their work is done, I'm going back. If you buy the clothes according to the size, they should fit you. It took up a lot of time. I should be able to deliver a few bags of takeout when I go out. Well, sorry, I will compensate you for your loss today. Thank you for the steamed eggs you made for me. Julian took out a stack of red bills from her wallet. No need. You are my boss. Just treat it as an employee to earn performance. But next time, I will charge you. Yang Jiadong glanced at the red bills, walked to the door, and turned back to add that this man is like sand in your hand. The harder you squeeze, the faster the sand flows. If you loosen it a little, you will find that the sand is still in your hand. Also, don't drink so much alcohol outside. I can't stand you. After saying that, he left with a smile, closed the door and left. Yang Jiadong's departure made Zhu Luyan feel a little lonely. Thinking about what the man said before he left, she seemed to smile inexplicably again. After delivering a few more takeaways, Yang Jiadong contacted Xiaolin and prepared to go home for dinner. Unexpectedly, Xiaolin seemed to be busy again tonight and told Yang Jiadong not to wait for him to eat together, and then hung up the phone. Just as he put down the phone, the manager called again. As soon as he answered the phone, he was scolded by Yang Jiadong. You asked for leave yesterday, and you are lazy today. Look at how many orders you have delivered. Alas, if you don't want to do it, just say it directly. No one will keep you. Don't make any complaints to me again. Yang Jiadong hurriedly said a few words with a smile, and then the manager hung up the phone. Episode 9 Divorce. He was a little depressed, thinking that Xiaolin would not go home for dinner anyway. He took a deep breath and continued to ride the battery car to deliver takeaways. That night, Xiaolin came back very late again. He was exhausted and fell asleep without saying a few words to Yang Jiadong after washing up. Lying with Xiaolin, Yang Jiadong smelled an unusual fragrance on him. He usually didn't use perfume to save money. Although Yang Jiadong was a little surprised, he didn't take it to heart. Xiaolin's work environment is still full of women, so it might be normal to buy perfume to show off. Yang Jiadong went to work very early today. He was scolded by his manager yesterday. In order not to make his performance too bad, he had to hurry up in the morning to deliver a few more orders. In the afternoon, he had to accompany Zhu Luyan to do things, and he didn't know how long it would take. Near noon, Yang Jiadong went to Zhu Luyan's house. Today, the woman was much more normal, still in a uniform. She was capable and she was completely different from the depressed woman yesterday. This is my plan, boss, take a look. Yang Jiadong handed over a handwritten plan, this is the new clothes I bought for you, try them on and see if they fit. Zhu Luyan took the plan and pointed to the bag of clothes on the side. Yang Jiadong looked at him sideways. Although he didn't know why he asked him to try on clothes again, he didn't think too much. He took the clothes and walked into a room and started to change. Just after taking off his coat, the woman suddenly pushed the door open. Zhu Luyan stood at the door, looking at Yang Jiadong's sturdy body with her beautiful eyes, pouting, I didn't expect you to have some muscles. Hey, boss, respect your privacy, okay? He was stunned for a moment, not panicking, and continued to take off his clothes and put them on calmly. You are man, what are you afraid of? Are you afraid that I will eat you? Zhu Luyan looked teasing. I'm not afraid, I'm just curious. Did you push the door open like this just to see my muscles? Yang Jiadong asked with his head tilted. Being teased by this woman many times made her feel unwilling. I want to make sure if there are any flaws in your body. What if you are going to get involved with that bitch? If he doesn't like your body, then it's a waste of my time. Zhu Luyan's pretty face turned red, and she quickly explained, then boss, do you want to try it? Yang Jiadong raised his mouth and took a step forward, almost sticking to Zhu Luyan. I saw this man was so proactive. Zhu Luyan's eyes were a little flustered, especially when she felt the man's breath coming towards her. Her cheeks became even redder. Yang Jiadong bent down slightly, as if his lips were about to kiss the woman's face in the next moment. Zhu Luyan was a little at a loss, wanting to refuse, but she wanted to try the taste of this handsome man. She closed her eyes half-heartedly, but she didn't expect the man's voice to sound gently in her ears. Dad, don't think too much, I said at the beginning, I don't sell my body. Hearing this, Zhu Luyan suddenly widened his eyes full of anger, and just as he was about to scold, he heard a knock at the door. Who would come to his house at this time? After glaring at Yang Jiadong angrily, he walked to the door of the room. Yang Jiadong didn't care. He shrugged his shoulders. He was always teased by this woman. It was quite pleasant to tease her occasionally. Otherwise, did he really think that he could do whatever he wanted if he was given money? Zhu Luyan stuck to the peephole to take a look at the situation outside. She wanted to open the door with joy. Her hand just stopped on the door handle. After looking at Yang Jiadong in panic, her face turned very pale. Yang Jiadong frowned. Who was outside the door that made him react like this? Zhu Luyan hurriedly ran to Yang Jiadong and lowered her voice. Waran is back. My husband is back. He's back. What should I do? No, you are at my house. It's rare for him to come back. What would he think if he saw you? Zhu Luyan explained nervously. And there was a knock on the door again and a man's impatient call. Alas, this is easy. Go open the door quickly. It will be troublesome if he leaves. Yang Jiadong shrugged. He had already changed into a takeaway uniform, and he walked directly into the kitchen without worrying. Zhu Luyan didn't know what Yang Jiadong was going to do, so he hurried to open the door. Howren, you're back? He opened the door and asked excitedly. A man glanced at Zhu Luyan and walked into the house with a frown. Yang Jiadong in the kitchen heard someone coming in, and deliberately made some noises before walking out, taking a quick look at Zhu Luyan's husband. The man was dressed in a suit and leather shoes, all of which were branded goods, but he wore them casually. He didn't look very handsome, but his eyes looked particularly deep, and his cheeks were firm, giving people a sense of majesty without anger. He should be around 30 years old, and his every move had the temperament of a successful man. Seeing Yang Jiadong coming out of the kitchen, the man frowned slightly and stared at him vigilantly, but after noticing the takeaway uniform on Yang Jiadong, his expression eased a little. Boss, I've seen your popularity. If it's dead, just change the battery. If there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I wish you a pleasant meal. Please give me a 5-star rating. This is the takeaway routine. It's normal for the takeaway guys to be used as tools. He played the role of a repairman. Oh, okay, thank you. Zhu Luyan reacted and hurriedly thanked him. Her husband frowned slightly, stared at Yang Jiadong, walked to the door, and said angrily that the gas stove should be repaired by the natural gas company. You just casually asked someone to deal with it. What if something goes wrong? You are still as reckless as before, and you don't use your brain when doing things. Yang Jiadong heard this and was a little unhappy. He just made up an excuse, but this man used it to scold Zhu Luyan. But he was angry, but he didn't have to compete with him now. Just after taking 2 steps, the man's undisguised voice came again. Is this the divorce agreement signed? Yang Jiadong was a little frightened. This man came back once in a while, just for a divorce. As expected, Zhu Luyan's hysterical voice rang out. Hearing the woman's miserable voice, Yang Jiadong felt a little depressed. After frowning slightly, he still went downstairs, but did not leave. She chose to lean against the corner, lit a cigarette, and waited quietly. Not long after, Zhu Luyan's husband came downstairs with a cold face, got into a Land Rover, and drove away directly. At this time, Yang Jiadong took the last puff of cigarette, threw away the cigarette butt, turned around and walked upstairs. Episode 10 Comfort. Before he reached Zhu Luyan's door, he heard the woman's hysterical crying. Yang Jiadong sighed. He saw him sitting down at the door of the room with a broken arm. A trail of blood was running down his fair skin, which was a bit shocking. Howren, come back, it doesn't matter what happens, I don't want to get divorced. Zhu Luyan covered his face and kept crying and shouting. The sound was heartbreaking. He didn't see Yang Jiadong at all. Oh, don't cry. Yang Jiadong walked up to Zhu Luyan and said softly. Howren, you're back. When Zhu Luyan heard the voice, he lifted up his withered cheek. He originally had a look of relief on his face, but when he saw it was Yang Jiadong, he became even more sad and started crying even more sadly. Why is it you? What are you here for? I want Howren. I want Howren to come back. He's gone and he won't be coming back. No, he will come back. Get out of here. Get out of here. You go back now and let me have sex with that vixen. I want Howren to know that I am the only one who treats him best. Get out of here. Get out of here right now. Zhu Luyan became hysterical. He raised his head and looked at Yang Jiadong madly, pointing his finger downstairs. Yang Jiadong felt a little unhappy, and came up to comfort him with good intentions, but he didn't expect that he would not appreciate it at all and yelled at him to get out. An angry Yang Jiadong turned around and was about to leave, but after going down 2 floors, he suddenly turned around and strode back to the woman, then regardless of her struggle, he forcibly carried her into the house. "Let me go, what do you want to do? I told you to get out, no need for you to tell me." The kind-hearted Yang Jiadong didn't say anything. He just carried the woman into the room, closed the door with his feet, and then put her on the sofa. "Asshole! Asshole! Scum! Roll! I don't want you to go away, and I don't need your fake kindness. You wanna help me? Then, go and find Harren for me." Zhu Luyan continued to curse Yang Jiadong without saying a word. He just stood aside and watched the woman who had fallen into madness. He frowned slightly when he saw the woman's bleeding arm. He didn't know how she had cut a big gash on her arm, and the blood had dyed her clothes red. He took a towel from the bathroom and some tissues from the dining table. Luckily, he found a home medical kit from a cabinet. He then squatted in front of the woman, grabbed Zhu Luyan's shoulders with both hands, looked into the woman's tearful eyes, and then sternly ordered Zhu Luyan to stop crying and listen to him. This sound really made Zhu Luyan stop crying. She looked at the man squatting in front of her with a sad face. "Your husband just went downstairs and drove away. He will not come back. He can't hear you even if you cry. He can leave even though you are in this state, which means he doesn't care about you at all. You are humiliating yourself by doing this. Listen, stop crying." Zhu Luyan looked very miserable, but Yang Jiadong's words made the woman stop crying loudly and start sobbing softly. "You are so beautiful, are you afraid of not having a man? As a man, I can tell you that the more you cling to him, the less he cares about you. It's completely useless to cry if you want him back. Keep pestering him to come back. Tell me, Harren, will he come back? Will you come back to me?" Zhu Luyan looked at Yang Jiadong with expectation. "Yes, but not the way you are now. Even I dislike the way you are now." "Well, then tell me what to do." Zhu Luyan grabbed Yang Jiadong's hand with her backhand, seeming to be completely unaware of the pain in her arm. "Don't worry, I will help you. We have a plan. First, we will drive away the woman who seduces your man, and then slowly help you improve yourself and get your man back. Trust me, I will help you." Yang Jiadong looked at Zhu Luyan solemnly. She really didn't want to see this woman like this. In fact, she could just leave, but she was afraid that this woman would do something stupid after being provoked. From these few contacts, it can be seen that Zhu Luyan cares about her man very much, and it can even be said that she has lost herself. Whether it is from a human perspective or relationship of interest, we cannot allow Zhu Luyan to get into trouble. "I believe in you. I believe that you can definitely make Harren come back to me. As long as you help me, I will give you any amount of money and do whatever you ask me to do." Zhu Luyan placed all his hopes on Yang Jiadong. What about the lost woman? She is both scary and pitiful. He has no doubt that if he says that he has brought Harren back, Zhu Luyan might give him all her money, but Yang Jiadong will not do that. After calming down the slight throbbing in my heart, I said softly, "Calm down first. Your arm is injured. I will help you take care of it." Yang Jiadong's words at this moment seemed to have magic. Zhu Luyan did as he was told stupidly, allowing the man to wipe the blood off his hands, disinfect and bandage them, and then sat on the sofa like a puppet, staring at Yang Jiadong. Seeing the distraught look on this woman's face, Yang Jiadong felt a little embarrassed. He thought that this woman might have calmed down and wanted to leave, but he was still a little worried. "Listen to me, there is blood on your nails and clothes, it's best to change them, then eat well, have a good sleep after eating, and then just pretend nothing happened, things will always be fine. Yang Jiadong is squatting in front of Zhu Luyan and making arrangements for you. Do you want to leave? Well, it's getting late. I still have to go to work and go home soon. Don't go, please. Don't leave me alone." Hearing that Yang Jiadong was leaving, Zhu Luyan became excited again and hugged the man squatting in front of her without hesitation. She used too much force and threw Yang Jiadong to the ground, then held him like an octopus. This was not the first time that Zhu Luyan hugged Yang Jiadong like this. Although their postures were somewhat ambiguous and Zhu Luyan's upper body was constantly pressing against Yang Jiadong's face, the man did not feel any enjoyment at all. He grinned in pain, and could not help rolling his eyes and shouting, "Hey, you get up first and let me go, okay?" "No, if I let you go you will go away." Julian shook his head desperately, as if he was grabbing a life-saving straw. "What is this? I'm not his man, is there any need for me to be so reluctant?" But seeing that the woman had no intention of letting go, he could only compromise. "Hey, please let me get up first. I want to leave, okay?" Episode 11. You didn't lie to me. Julian lowered his head and looked at Yang Jiadong suspiciously. "I'm not going to lie to you, but you can't keep putting pressure on me like this, right? Well, if your husband comes back suddenly, it wouldn't he be good to see us like this, right?" After hearing what Yang Jiadong said, Julian's eyes suddenly showed a trace of panic. She quickly stood up and looked at the door vigilantly. Seeing Julian's miserable yet pleading expression, Yang Jiadong sighed and said, "I won't leave now. It's getting late. Are you hungry? What would you like to eat?" Julian shook her head weakly. Yang Jiadong felt helpless. He couldn't just stay like this forever, right? "After thinking about it for a while, I decided that since you are not hungry, you can just go to sleep first and forget about it when you fall asleep. What about when you wake up? After waking up, will Harun come back? Wake up?" Yang Jiadong didn't know what to say. Even if he lied to comfort her, it would be a bad lie. "After thinking about it for a while, now that you have woken up and your mind is clear, we can better think of ways to help you persuade your husband to come back." After hearing what Yang Jiadong said, Julian's eyes seemed to brighten up. Like a child who had received a promise from an adult, he quickly pulled Yang Jiadong into his bedroom and lay down on the bed without taking off his clothes. "Change your clothes quickly, you won't be comfortable sleeping like this." Yang Jiadong planned to step aside and let Julian change clothes. "Don't go, I'm going to change my clothes, don't go." Julian pulled Yang Jiadong cautiously. "Okay, I want to leave." After taking a look, Julian felt helpless and could only turn around and close her eyes. When Julian changed her clothes, he heard a rustling sound, which reminded him of the image of a woman's body. The man seemed to feel a little itchy, but he had no intention of taking advantage of her. Well, hearing Julian's voice, Yang Jiadong turned around and opened his eyes. The woman had put on a seductive pajamas and was leaning against the head of the bed. It seemed that there was a bit of inexplicable meaning in the look Julian gave Yang Jiadong. "Lie down, cover yourself with the quilt, and sleep well. You can't leave when I sleep." Julian reached out and grabbed Yang Jiadong's wrist and said, "I won't leave. I'll stay here with you. Okay?" Julian then let go of her hand and closed her eyes. Even so, she opened her eyes from time to time, and only closed them again when she saw Yang Jiadong was still beside her. After repeating this several times, she began to breathe evenly and it seemed that she had fallen asleep. Yang Jiadong wanted to leave secretly, and even walked to the door of the room, but he pouted and sat on the sofa helplessly. Looking at the time, he estimated that Xiaolin had already gotten off work and was maybe waiting for him to eat. But he was too embarrassed to leave now. While complaining in his heart that this money was not easy to earn, he stood up and walked to the balcony to call Xiaolin. The phone rang several times before it was connected. "Baby, are you off work yet? I won't be back for dinner tonight." "Well, I just got off work, what's wrong?" "Oh, there are a lot of orders today. The manager said that if I deliver more orders, the platform will give me rewards, so I will run more." "Eat by yourself." Yang Jiadong told a lie. "Well, okay, don't work too hard. Actually, I'm not going home for dinner tonight. I have some overtime work to do at the company, and I don't know how late I will be back. Working overtime again, you should not be too tired. I will find a way to deal with the money issue, you don't have to work so hard." Hearing that Xiaolin had to work overtime again, Yang Jiadong felt a little distressed. Xiaolin had worked overtime too many times during this period. He felt that this woman had paid too much for their relationship, and as a man, he had no reason not to work hard. "It's okay. If I go back late, you should go to bed early." Arbai Xiaolin said and hung up the phone. Yang Jiadong was still sighing when he suddenly heard Julian's shouting. He hurried into the room and found that the woman was talking in her sleep. Perhaps the divorce was too much of a shock to her. Even in her sleep she kept shouting, "Don't leave, don't divorce." Looking closely, he was sweating profusely while sleeping. "I wonder if he had a nightmare. Since you are taking care of me, then take good care of me." Thinking of this, Yang Jiadong found a towel to wipe Zhu sweat. The woman opened her eyes slightly and looked at him, then waited contentedly until 9 o'clock in the evening. Yang Jiadong was leaning on the sofa and browsing his mobile phone out of boredom. After hearing a noise, Zhu, who was in pajamas, ran out of the room in panic. When she saw Yang Jiadong was still there, she threw herself into his arms regardless of everything. "What's wrong with you? Are you having a nightmare?" Yang Jiadong spread out his hands, not knowing where to put them. After a while, he slowly patted the woman's back. "I thought you were gone." Zhu replied with emotion. "No, I promised you, so how could you leave? How did you wake up? Feeling better?" Yang Jiadong comforted her softly. Zhu nodded, blushed, and left Yang Jiadong's arms, secretly looking at the man in front of her. "Are you hungry? What would you like to eat? Do you want takeout or should I make something for you?" "Just make me something to eat." Zhu replied indifferently. "You seem to have recovered a lot, so I can only cook noodles for you. My noodles are delicious." Yang Jiadong made a half-dirty joke to lighten the mood. There were still traces of sadness on Zhu face, but he blinked his big eyes and looked at the man, then stretched out his hand and grabbed the man's thigh. Yang Jiadong was shocked and quickly jumped away, then looked at Zhu awkwardly. He didn't expect that this woman would actually take advantage of his trick. If Zhu caught him in a weak spot, wouldn't she really be planning to eat him? "Why are you running? Don't you want me to eat you?" Zhu showed a charming smile, with traces of pear blossoms in the rain, which was quite charming. "Well, I was just joking. I wanted to make you feel better. I mean I'm going to cook noodles for you." Yang Jiadong explained awkwardly and hurried into the kitchen. Zhu smiled slightly. After teasing the man, her mood indeed improved a lot. Not long after, Yang Jiadong brought out a bowl of fragrant tomato fried egg noodles. Zhu was also hungry, and seeing the good-looking food, she quickly finished it all. "How is it? Are you full?" "But even if you are not full, there is nothing I can do. This is all the food you have at home. If you are still hungry, order takeout. It's getting late and I have to go." Episode 12. "Well, thank you. Then you haven't eaten anything here?" "It's okay, I'm not hungry and I can eat something when I go out later. Have a good rest and arrange the things I told you to do as soon as possible." After giving some instructions, Yang Jiadong left Zhu home. "It was already past 9 o'clock in the evening when I came out again. Take a deep breath. Wasting so much time without going to work means you lose a lot of money. I wanted to call and ask if Xiaolin had returned home, but no one answered." Helplessly, after eating a bowl of noodles on the roadside, he took out his mobile phone again to take orders for takeout. He tried to earn as much as he could, after all, he needed the money now. After working for a while, Yang Jiadong was very tired when he returned home. It was a while after he returned that Xiaolin came home, and there was still some smell of alcohol on his body. "Why are you back so late? Have you been drinking?" Yang Jiadong frowned slightly. Although he knew that Xiaolin would inevitably drink when she went to social events, he really didn't like his girlfriend being like this. If a beautiful girl drank too much, she would easily be taken advantage of by men with bad intentions. Xiaolin has good looks, so Yang Jiadong is even more worried that others will covet him. "Don't worry, it's just a few colleagues having a few drinks with a client." Xiaolin smiled and comforted her, saying that it was good that she knew her man's thoughts, and that in the future, she should not drink if possible, as there were many news reports online about women being drugged after drinking. "Okay, I get it. It's a matter of face today. It's a big client of the company. If we can get it, we can get a lot of commission. Oh, I have to go on a business trip for a few days tomorrow. You should stay at home and take good care of yourself during these days. Don't let me come back, because I know you don't eat well." Xiaolin walked up to Yang Jiadong and hugged him, but the man didn't notice the bitterness in her eyes. "On business trip? All right. Well, don't be too tired, I'm always here for you. Well, have you packed your things? Do you need to get up early tomorrow? Well, let us take a rest quickly, it's getting late." Yang Jiadong patted the woman's back, and after washing up together, they fell asleep in each other's arms. The next day, after Yang Jiadong sent Xiaolin away, he called Zhu worriedly. From her tone, it seemed that the woman had recovered. But what she was more concerned about was whether Yi Jiani went to the coffee shop in the morning. It was not until the afternoon that he received the news that Yi Jiani's time for coffee had not changed, which made Yang Jiadong frown slightly. It seemed that the third step of the plan was indispensable. The two discussed it on the phone, and Zhu Luyan finalized the plan. He would find a way to arrange for Yi Jiani to go to a resort one day later. That would be the opportunity for Yang Jiadong to get in touch with her. Under Zhu Luyan's arrangement, Yi Jiani was lucky enough to win the prize, which was a free 3-day trip to a well-known resort. This resort is very famous in the city. Reservations are required and the tickets are very expensive. Only rich or noble people can enjoy it. As long as there is no excessive consumption, all expenses are included in the ticket. This kind of ticket is a great temptation for both ordinary people and rich people. It just so happened that Zhu Luyan's husband also had to go on a business trip, so Yi Jiani was quite free during this period, so going to the resort to enjoy herself was a good choice. At the same time, because of Naisielan's departure, Yang Jiadong also had relatively free time, which was very suitable for setting up this game. Although it was called the suburbs, it was actually dozens of kilometers away from the urban area. Yi Jiani did not have a car, so under Zhu Luyan's arrangement, the woman took a taxi. Unexpectedly, the driver asked for a huge fare, and after Yi Jiani refused as expected, she was abandoned halfway. Yang Jiadong was driving a Mercedes-Benz a few kilometers behind the taxi that Yi Jiani was riding in. Zhu Luyan was sitting in the passenger seat and received a phone call. "Stop the car, that bitch is left on the side of the road." "Well, what do you do? How are we going to get back later?" After stopping the car, Yang Jiadong asked with a little concern. "Don't worry, that taxi is my guy who will take me back. And this credit card, if you need to spend money in the resort, you can just swipe the card." Zhu Luyan instructed that in order to create opportunities for Yang Jiadong, two places should naturally be prepared. She actually wanted to go, but tickets were really hard to get. "You really put a lot of effort into this and spent a lot of money, right?" Yang Jiadong took the credit card and looked at it. The password was written on the back of the card. "I would be willing to pay any amount of money as long as it would bring my husband back." Zhu Luyan had a determined look on her face. "Oh, okay, I'll try my best. Go back and wait for my good news." Yang Jiadong gave Zhu Luyan a confident smile, watched the woman get off the car, and continued driving forward. Not long after, he spotted Yi Jiani, who was parked on the side of the road with a frown on her face. The Mercedes-Benz car stopped beside the beautiful woman. Facing Yi Jiani's puzzled look, Yang Jiadong rolled down the window, then took off his sunglasses and revealed a playful smile. "What a coincidence, why are you here?" It's you. Where are you going?" Yi Jiani was surprised when she recognized Yang Jiadong. "Oh, going to Shuhai Resort, how come you got into trouble halfway alone?" Yang Jiadong asked the question even though he knew the answer, and he acted very convincingly. "Are you going to Shuhai Resort too?" "What a coincidence, I was left behind by an unscrupulous driver." "Then you can." Yi Jiani hesitated to speak and looked at Yang Jiadong with slight anticipation. "Oh, it looks like we are going the same way. If you don't mind, get in the car." Yang Jiadong tilted his head and motioned Yi Jiani to get in the car. The man was secretly delighted, everything was going according to plan. The appearance of Yang Jiadong was like a pillow for Yi Jiani when she was sleepy. She was left worried about being left alone. Unexpectedly, this man just drove by. Combined with the previous two encounters, Yi Jiani was not very wary of this man. After happily getting into the car, she took a quick look at the interior of the car, and finally rested her gaze on Yang Jiadong's slightly resolute face. "What a coincidence, are we meeting by chance?" "It seems so." "Well, I'm just lucky." "Yes, I am so lucky. If it weren't for you, I would either have to walk back today or be alone on Liu Luo Street." Yi Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong with curiosity. This man seemed to not care about her handsome face at all. Although Yang Jia maintained an indifferent look and drove seriously, he was actually expecting Yi Jiani to ask more questions so that he would have a chance to get close to him smoothly. Episode 13. Do you believe in fate? Could it be that these two chance encounters are a sign of some hope in our destiny, allowing us to get to know each other? After the car drove for a while, Yi Jiani asked shyly. You know, these words are often said to her by men who want to chat her up, but I didn't expect that there are times when she would say these to men herself. Fate. Maybe, but actually, I believe more in the power of human effort. If I hadn't designed these encounters myself, I might have really believed in the saying that fate is predestined. Thinking of these things, he was vaguely worried that Nicelin might be tricked when he was away from home. Alas, you are really different. It seems that you are still a very hardworking and ambitious man. Yijiani covered her mouth and chuckled, then looked at Yang Jiadong seriously. I remember your name is Yang Jiadong, right? Do you remember my name? Yijiani, you are such a beautiful lady, of course I remember you. How old are you? Where do you work? Yijiani asked curiously. How to check their household registration. Are you afraid that I will kidnap you and sell you? Yang Jiadong smiled and glanced at the woman beside him. It's just a casual question. Just want to make friends and get to know each other. This is the second time we meet by chance. 28 years old. Like I said before, I'm in the trading business and I have an overseas trading company. After a moment's silence, Yang Jiadong replied indifferently. This identity was different from what was previously agreed upon with Zhu Luyan. After some discussion, the two felt that this would be more attractive to Yijiani. After looking at the interior of the car, Yijiani asked, It's amazing that you have your own company at such a young age. I guess you should have a girlfriend, or are you married? This question made Yang Jiadong frown slightly, wondering how Yijiani made the judgment. Or maybe he just wanted to ask about his own emotional relationship. Why do you think I have a girlfriend or am married? After thinking for a while, Yang Jiadong asked back. It's very simple. Look at the decorations in this car, they are quite feminine. I guess you don't drive this car often, or the car belongs to someone else and you are rich second generation. Yijiani blinked. Hearing this, Yang Jiadong was secretly shocked. This woman was more cautious than he had imagined, especially considering his observation and judgment. It seemed that it would not be easy to fool her. If he accidentally revealed his true colors, all his efforts would be wasted. At the same time, he secretly blamed himself for overlooking the detail that the car belonged to Zhu Luyan. A woman's car will inevitably leave some marks. You are very careful. However, people can't just look at the surface, it's easy to be confused. Yang Jiadong calmed himself and spoke calmly. Why, isn't it? Yijiani's eyes lit up slightly, and she listened to Yang Jiadong's explanation with great interest. First of all, I am not a second-generation rich. Everything I have is earned through my own hard work. Secondly, this car is also mine, but I lent it to my sister some time ago and I haven't had time to pack it up yet. Do you want to see my driving license? Yang Jiadong explained without turning his head. Oh, so that's it. I was just talking, you don't have to take it so seriously. I didn't expect you had a younger sister, a real younger sister. Yijiani was just talking casually and didn't take it seriously. Hearing this, Yang Jiadong breathed a sigh of relief. This woman wanted to see the driving license, but she couldn't produce it. At most, it was just her cousin's driver's license. Her company was on holiday and she went out for a self-driving tour. Yang Jiadong made up a lie. Huh? So he drove your car away? What car did you use some time ago? Are you also going on vacation to a resort? Yijiani seems to have a lot of problems. Why do I feel like you are investigating me? Tell the truth, are you an undercover sent by Monkey? Yang Jiadong pretended to be displeased and made a joke. No, I'm just asking casually. I think you're interesting and I want to get to know you better. And I was not sent by the monkey, I was sent by the white bone demon. Yijiani was amused by Yang Jiadong and made a joke along with him. Well, since we are all monsters, it's okay to tell you. I have more than one car. I don't drive this car to work on weekdays. I take this car when I go on vacation to check out the treatment there and prepare to receive a group of foreign guests. Yang Jiadong nodded and answered with a serious face. Yijiani laughed so hard that her body shook. Are you a monster? I am at most a goblin, make no mistake about it. It seems that your company is a foreign trade company? I guess so. We have some overseas business. After getting to know each other a little, I found that this woman was much more cheerful than I had imagined, and not as cold as she appeared. In his mind, he secretly compared this woman with Zhu Luyan and Nicelin. Zhu Luyan gave him the impression of being aggressive and unreasonable, while his girlfriend was quiet and reserved, acting like a lady when going out, and passionate at home. After driving for a while, the two arrived at Shuhai Resort. This resort is built in an imposing manner, directly occupying a hilltop. Despite the relatively desolate surrounding environment, it has managed to build a dignified avenue. The reception desk is halfway up the mountain. After the two got off the car, a waiter came up to greet them and parked the car. He then took them to check in and had dinner together later. How about it? We all just arrived here and I'm not familiar with the place, so at least there's someone to take care of me. As the waiter was taking the two to the guest room, Jiani took the initiative to invite them. Yang Jiadong responded indifferently and followed the waiter to stop at the door of the room. Sir, this is your room, beautiful lady, next door is your room. The waiter politely opened the door for them. Our two rooms are connected. Jiani was a little surprised. If I remember correctly, this resort plan was arranged according to the customer's order time. His was the winner, but what about Yang Jiadong? Is it really such a coincidence? Yang Jiadong just happened to book a room after me. Hearing the arrangement of the room, Yang Jiadong secretly blamed Zhu Luyan in his heart. If there are too many coincidences, it will make others think that there are ulterior motives. Dear guests, you are in luck, these happen to be the last two rooms available at the resort this term. The waiter said with a smile. Humph, looks like I'm lucky. Yang Jiadong said this smoothly, feeling relieved. The waiter's words gave him an excuse. Yi Jia, you didn't ask any more questions. You smiled at Yang Jiadong and walked into the room. Yang Jiadong closed the door and immediately took out his mobile phone to send a message to Zhu Luyan saying that the goods had been received. This let Zhu Luyan know that things were going according to plan. It was already late when the two arrived at the resort, so after a short rest they prepared to have dinner. Yang Jiadong didn't seem to be in a hurry at all staying in the room. He took out the notebook prepared by Zhu Luyan, opened a document window and started playing small games. Episode 14. Not long after, there was a knock on the door of the room. Yang Jiadong curled up the corners of his mouth and closed the game window, leaving a document listing various data. It was not until the door rang again that he slowly walked over to open it. As expected, Jiani was waiting at the door. Judging from her expression, she seemed a little unhappy because Yang Jiadong waited so long before opening the door. What are you doing? Jiani frowned slightly and said, Oh, sorry, I just had some work to deal with and was busy. Are we going to have dinner? Yang Jiadong was stunned for a moment, then apologized with a smile and moved aside to give Jiani a little space so that she could see the notebook full of data. The woman's dress also caught her eye. She didn't expect that Jiani had changed her clothes in such a short time. We're just at a resort, is it necessary to change into an evening dress? The violet evening dress made the woman look more dignified. The deep neckline revealed a large area of white cleavage, which attracted men's attention. It's okay. You are still busy with work. You work very hard. No wonder you can start your own company. After noticing the computer Yang Jiadong was working on, Jiani's dissatisfaction disappeared. Why are you dressed like this? Yang Jiadong couldn't help but ask, and slightly shifted his gaze away, not daring to look directly at that tempting part. How about it, is it beautiful? Jiani raised her hand and looked at Yang Jiadong's reaction with interest. Yes, it is very pretty. Yang Jiadong answered with a red face, then walked into the room and closed the notebook. This was just an act. If Jiani really saw through it, I wouldn't be able to explain it. Why are you blushing? Haven't you ever seen a woman dressed like this? Jiani teased, and followed Yang Jiadong into the room without any hesitation. It's not that I haven't seen it before, but I've never seen a woman as beautiful as you wear it. Yang Jiadong flattered without even raising his head. As soon as I closed the computer and turned around, I heard Jiani exclaim. The woman stepped on her skirt and slipped. She was about to fall. Yang Jiadong quickly reached out and hugged Jiani from Qingdao in his arms. In the room, two people seemed to be performing a dance move. The woman was lying on her back in the man's arms. The man was leaning over slightly, their eyes looking at each other affectionately. Time seemed to freeze at this moment. After a moment of silence, one could seem to hear the sound of a quickened heartbeat. Are you okay? Yang Jiadong looked concerned. It's okay, thank you. Jiani's face suddenly turned red. For some reason, she suddenly felt shy and didn't dare to look Yang Jiadong in the eye. "Well, I'm glad you're okay. Then could you please stand up first?" Yang Jiadong asked seriously. It was really uncomfortable for him to maintain this posture. Moreover, if he lowered his head a little, he could see the deep cleavage, which made him really not know where to look. "Oh, sorry." Yi Jiani stood up, her eyes dodged for a moment, then fell on her evening dress. She checked it carefully and breathed a sigh of relief when she found that the clothes were not damaged. "You see, it's hard to walk in this dress. We're just going there to have a meal, so there's no need to dress so formally, right? No way, you just need to support me a little when the time comes. This is how you should dress when you go to a resort like this for dinner. If you don't believe me, just look and you will see that most women in the restaurant will look like me." Yi Jiani answered confidently. Yang Jiadong had never been to such an occasion and didn't know the rules. In his impression, women would only dress like this when attending grand and upper-class banquets, right? After thinking about it, he raised his wrist to check the time, then stretched out a hand, smiled and invited Yi Jiani. "It's getting late, would you like to have dinner with me, my beautiful lady?" Yang Jiadong suddenly became gentlemanly, which made Yi Jiani's beautiful eyes fascinated. After looking at him for a few times, she happily put Ruyi in the hands of this man. Taking Yi Jiani to the restaurant of the resort, Yang Jiadong discovered that the dinner here was exactly as the woman had described. Almost everyone was wearing evening gowns, or very beautiful clothes, as if they were competing for beauty. The men were dressed in suits and looked very polite. Yang Jiadong was a little overwhelmed by the beauties of various looks. In the past, when he met a beautiful customer while delivering takeaway, it would give some guys something to talk about after drinking. Moreover, with the current scene of so many parties competing for the banquet, he did not expect that the resort would actually hold the dinner in the form of a banquet. The appearance of Yang Jiadong and Yi Jiani attracted a lot of people's attention. The man was handsome and the woman was beautiful. It was no exaggeration to say that they were a perfect match. People in the restaurant were chatting together in small groups, with occasional sociable men wandering around. Yang Jiadong had never encountered such a situation before, and he was a little overwhelmed, but fortunately he remained calm, vaguely recalling the scenes in the movie. He took Yi Jiani to sit down at a small round table, wanting to eat something. Yang Jiadong noticed that the table not far away was filled with all kinds of delicacies from land and sea. "I don't eat much at night, so just take whatever you want." Yi Jiani replied with a smile and subconsciously glanced at the waiter standing not far away. There are many waiters in the restaurant, who are at the guest's service. If necessary, they will also get dishes for the guests. Yang Jiadong took the initiative to help him get the food, which Yi Jiani thought was a very gentlemanly behavior. However, Yang Jiadong did not realize this, he simply treated the banquet as a buffet. There were a lot of things on the table, and Yang Jiadong just took some at random. Considering Yi Jiani's words, she thought that women usually eat fruits at night to lose weight, so she carefully selected some and took them back. On their way back, Yang Jiadong casually looked around and found a familiar woman flash by. He intuitively felt that she seemed to look very much like Xiaolin, but Xiaolin was not on a business trip. Could it be that he had seen it wrong? Not right now. While thinking about this, Yang Jiadong frowned slightly and returned to Yi Jiani. He placed the food on the table, poured a glass of red wine, nodded, and returned to his seat. Yi Jiani took a quick look at what the man was holding and a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. "How do you know I only eat fruit at night?" "I guess, nowadays women generally pay much attention to their own maintenance, and not eating at night is the norm. But not eating is not good for your health. Eating some fruits can be considered as a vitamin supplement." Yang Jiadong explained with a smile. "You are quite thoughtful." Yi Jiani smiled, picked up the red wine brought by Yang Jiadong, and raised her glass slightly to celebrate. "We know each other and become friends, so we become friends. This is not just the beginning." Episode 15. What? You don't want to be friends with a beautiful lady like me? Besides, this isn't the first time we've met, so of course I'm happy to do it. It's my honor. I just think, well, we just officially met today, and I'm afraid you might not be willing. Yang Jiadong raised his glass with a smile. The red wine shook slightly as the two glasses collided, and then slid into the mouths of the two men. Yang Jiadong saw from the corner of his eye that Yi Jiani drank the wine he handed to her without any hesitation, and the corners of his mouth curled up. When a woman doesn't refuse a man's offer of wine, it's a sign that she's not very guarded, and it's also a potential hint. But Yang Jiadong didn't have any bad intentions. He just wanted to attract this woman step by step, and then complete Zhu Luyan's task perfectly and disappear with the 200,000 yuan. If he really slept with Yi Jiani, not only would he feel guilty towards Naisielan, but he might also get into some unnecessary trouble afterwards. With the atmosphere around them, the two toasted each other a few times and gradually started to talk. Yang Jiadong was always on guard and answered Yi Jiani's questions flawlessly. However, when he asked Yi Jiani about her situation, this woman always tried to change the subject and seemed unwilling to say more. As time passed, people at the banquet left one after another after finishing their meal. Occasionally, one or two men would support their drunken female companions and walk towards the guest rooms with great joy. It's easy to imagine what will happen. The two drank just the right amount of wine, but Yi Jiani seemed a little drunk, with a hint of red on her cheeks. As she looked at Yang Jiadong, she looked somewhat charming, with a hint of flirting. Alas, red wine has a strong after effect. I felt dizzy even without drinking much. There was a hint of drunkenness on Yi Jiani's face. If you can't drink, then don't drink it. I'll get you a bag of juice to sober you up. Har har har, Yi Jiani glanced at the man and laughed like a silver bell, then waved her hand and said, "No, I thought you were going to continue to persuade me to drink. You are really different from other men." "What's the difference? We all have a pair of eyes and a mouth. Do I have 3 heads and 6 arms?" Yang Jiadong answered jokingly. 3 heads and 6 arms. You are not Nezar, why didn't I meet you earlier? Yi Jiani shook her head as if she was disappointed. What's the big deal? It's not too late to encounter it now. Yang Jiadong stood up with a smile, walked to Yi Jiani, and asked softly, "Do you need me to help you go back to your room to rest? You look a little drunk. Go back to your room and rest." Yi Jiani raised her eyes and looked at Yang Jiadong meaningfully, as if she felt that she could see through this man's thoughts and ideas. She smiled and said, "It's so boring to go back to the room so early. Doesn't the resort have hot springs? How about taking a break and soaking in the hot springs? Hot springs are also good." Yang Jiadong nodded, feeling a little confused about what this woman was planning. After sitting down again, he looked around and suddenly saw a man walking into the corner with a familiar woman in his arms. With just a quick glance, Yang Jiadong felt that the woman in the man's arms looked very much like Naisielan. Then he thought about the woman he saw by chance when he was getting the food. Could it be Sielan? How is that possible? How could he be here? At this moment, Yang Jiadong was extremely confused. He subconsciously stood up and wanted to chase after him to see what was going on. At this moment, his cell phone suddenly rang, interrupting his thoughts. He subconsciously looked at Yi Jiani, who was looking at him with a puzzled expression. He realized that he had lost his composure, so he quickly calmed himself down, took out his cell phone and looked at it, then said apologetically, "I'm sorry, I have to answer the call." Then he looked again in the direction that seemed to be where Naisielan had left, and then walked to a nearby distance to answer the phone. "Hello, what's wrong?" "It's okay, I just wanted to ask you, is everything going well?" The call was from Zhu Luyan. "Okay, I'm having dinner with him." "Have a meal." "Have you been drinking?" "After drinking, he seemed to have a low alcohol tolerance, so I planned to take him back to his room." Yang Jiadong answered honestly. "Can't drink much." "That's great, get him drunk, then have sex with him, and remember to take some pictures." "No, I said I wouldn't mess with him. He was just a little drunk, and I couldn't tell whether he was really drunk or not, so I didn't dare to do anything rash. He said he would go to the hot springs later." "What are you thinking about? Get him drunk and then deal with him. Once you have evidence, you have completed your mission. Why is it so slow? If you feel the money is not enough, I will give you more. This is not about money, we have an agreement. Besides, this woman is not as simple as I imagined. She may be testing me." Yang Jiadong had to explain, and he also felt that he and Yi Jiani seemed to have become familiar with each other too quickly. There was silence on the phone for a moment. "Okay, you decide on the arrangements. Remember, you and him only have 3 days at the resort. If you can't handle it, you have to do it my way. Your solution? Don't make trouble for me. Don't blame me if the mission fails." "Mission failed." "No, you just need to continue to be intimate with him at the resort. I will notify my husband and go directly to the resort to catch him when I come back. Just let him see you being intimate, and then you won't have to do it against your will. Oh, do you think it would be that simple? I just said, this woman is not simple. She seems to know me, but actually she has always been on guard against me. If you call your husband here, you will probably be asking for trouble. Your man may think you have bad intentions and not tell him. Maybe you will take the opportunity to have a sweet time with him in this resort for a few days. Yang Jia animation is not exaggerating, although Yi Jiani seems to be easy to get along with after getting familiar with each other, and there is even a hint of flirting in her. However, Yang Jiadong was very alert and discovered that there always seemed to be a hint of vigilance in Yi Jiani's expression. There was silence again on the other end of the phone. After a long while, Zhu Luyan's angry voice was heard. Okay, you arrange it yourself, but don't make me wait too long. After saying that, he hung up the phone. Yang Jiadong frowned slightly, put the phone in his pocket, returned to the table, and explained with an apologetic smile, I'm sorry, I just had to confirm a business matter with someone in the company. It's okay, that's how men work. It's about time, let us go to the hot spring. Yi Jiani stood up and naturally took Yang Jiadong's arm. Episode 16. The two separated at the hot spring and went to change their clothes. Yang Jiadong put on a pair of swimming trunks and went out to look around the hot spring pool naturally. Among some stone rockery, there is a large hot spring pool, which is a public bath for both men and women, but most of them wear swimsuits. There seemed to be a few small bathing pools not far away, but they were separated by fences. They were probably private bathing pools. The hot spring is filled with wisps of smoke, and from time to time you can see some graceful beauties, giving it a dreamlike feeling. Not long after, Yi Jiani came out in a white swimsuit, gracefully walking with lotus steps, and immediately attracted the attention of almost all the men on the field. She has a tall figure comparable to that of a model and skin as white as jade, which makes men unable to take their eyes off her. Coupled with her exquisite face, she really has the face of an angel and the body of a devil. Yang Jiadong was also stunned. As a man, his instinctive reaction was to feel a little excited when seeing such a hot body. What's wrong? Yi Jiani smiled slightly, with a spring breeze blowing on her face and the feeling of flowers blooming. No, it's okay, it's just that a fairy suddenly appeared in front of me and I was a little distracted. Yang Jiadong was a little embarrassed, but he didn't hesitate to praise you, saying you were really good at talking. You blushed. Yi Jiani noticed Yang Jiadong's blushing cheeks and teased him. Alas, it's caused by the high water temperature. Well, do you want to soak here or go to the smaller pool? Yi Jiani looked around and decided to go to the small pond. It would be embarrassing to be watched by so many people. Yang Jiadong nodded, called the waiter not far away, and asked, only to find out that the small pool was charged. Anyway, he had the credit card given by Zhu Luyan, so he didn't care about the amount of money. After reporting the room number, someone will naturally bring the bill over, and then we will be led by the waiter to a relatively secluded hot spring pool. Each small pool is far apart, as if they are afraid of affecting each other. Pulling the glan means that there are people in this small pool, and the glan is cleverly designed so that people passing by from the outside cannot see what is going on inside. When I followed the waiter past other hot spring pools, I seemed to be able to hear some faint charming sounds coming from inside. Yang Jiadong turned a deaf ear to him, but Yi Jiani blushed slightly and her eyes seemed a little flustered. No one knew what she was thinking. After the two walked into a small hot spring pool, the waiter smiled, closed the door and left. The soft lighting in the pool made the atmosphere somewhat ambiguous, and the slight mist added a few more ripples that seemed to be half covered by a peeper. Yang Jiadong leaned against the edge of the pool with his neck buried in the water, but he didn't dare look in Yi Jiani's direction. The wet Yi Jiani looked even more attractive. She was afraid that if she looked at her a few more times, she would lose control and start to have ideas about this woman. Yi Jiani didn't seem to care. She leaned against the pool and soaked in the hot spring, but her eyes were looking at Yang Jiadong's strong body. I don't know if it's because of the temperature or something else, but the woman's pretty face seems to have become a little redder. Noticing the man's gaze that seemed to have nowhere to go, Yi Jiani smiled mischievously and quietly moved towards the man. Hey, what are you looking at? Yi Jiani suddenly leaned close to Yang Jiadong's ear, but didn't realize that she was too close. Yang Jiadong was shocked and turned his head suddenly, and their lips touched each other in an instant. The two of them widened their eyes at the same time, took a few steps back, and felt extremely embarrassed for a moment. That sorry, the brief contact just now made his heart beat faster. It's okay, but you look so nervous. Did I take your first kiss? Jiadong is quite relaxed. Filmed. Yang Jiadong forced a smile, avoided answering, and turned his eyes away but did not dare to look at the woman in front of him. Jiadong looked at the man's awkward appearance, and there seemed to be a bit of joy in her eyes. She turned around and lay on the edge of the bathtub, revealing her smooth back. Can you do me a favor? What, you said I heard that massaging in a hot spring can promote the skin's absorption of minerals. Can you give me a shoulder and back massage? Massage? Yang Jiadong was a little hesitant. Faced with the woman's constant teasing, he became even more hesitant in his heart. He really couldn't figure out whether this woman was testing him or not. She was really interested in him so quickly and was creating some opportunities to get close to him. Why, you don't want to? Still shy? It's okay, I'm just afraid you mind. Don't worry, if I minded, I wouldn't make this request. Don't worry, I won't eat you. Jiadong lay quietly beside the hot spring, waiting for Yang Jiadong to serve her. The man swallowed nervously, then walked over to Jiadong, slowly took his hand out of the water, and placed it on the woman's shoulder that was exposed outside the water. When their skin touched, there seemed to be a flame rising in Yang Jiadong's heart at this moment. He exerted a little force, held his breath, and massaged Jiadong. Slowly, he slid his hands into the water and massaged her back. In the slight resistance, there seemed to be a different feeling. Jiadong was lying on the hot spring pool. Yang Jiadong couldn't see his expression, but he didn't know that after this woman gave him a massage, she gently wiggled her teeth, with a slightly enjoyable expression with a hint of something else. Yang Jiadong continued massaging and touched her soft and boneless waist. He squeezed it and seemed to have touched the woman's itchy spot. Jiadong was very ticklish, so she dodged instinctively, letting out a soft laugh from time to time. Yang Jiadong found it interesting and wanted to tickle him. Hey, stop it, I'm ticklish. Jiadong tried to hold back her laughter and tried to avoid it, but the lying position was really inconvenient. She turned around and wanted to warn Yang Jiadong not to do this, but unexpectedly she tripped Yang Jiadong when she turned around. The man was hunched over while soaking in the hot spring. His lower body was unstable and he fell directly on the woman. The two of them were pressed face to face, and their eyes suddenly widened, with a hint of embarrassment on their faces. Their eyes met, and Yang Jiadong stared at Jiadong. The woman glanced at him and turned her head away shyly. Yang Jiadong's breathing became a little rapid. When he saw the lovely woman in front of him, a fire started burning in his heart, spreading throughout his body. Jiadong raised her head and saw a pair of hot eyes. She shyly moved closer. Now that it has been hinted at this much, this man should know what to do, right? The air around seemed to condense, and the sound of flowing water and the man's slightly heavy breathing could be faintly heard. Episode 17. Yang Jiadong maintained a strange posture, not knowing what to do. The dense mist gradually confused the man's remaining sanity, and Jiadong's vague hints also tickled the man's heartstrings, indicating that they should stir up some water in this hot spring. Yang Jiadong stared blankly at the beauty under him, his restless eyes full of hesitation, his body feeling warm in the hot spring. Jiadong looked at Yang Jiadong, who seemed to be looking at her obsessively. She bit her teeth lightly, her cheeks slightly red with a shy expression, but there was a hint of doubt in her eyes. If he were an ordinary man, he should have pounced on her by now, right? But he seemed really different, he was actually stunned. Was he scared? Seeing that Yang Jiadong seemed like a man who had no experience in the world, Jiadong seemed to be happier. After a little hesitation, she stretched out her slender arms and took the initiative to put them around Yang Jiadong's neck. Oh, why are you so scared? Don't you know what to do? Do you want me to teach you? The woman's sudden voice brought Yang Jiadong back to his senses, as he was on the verge of losing his sanity. He coughed dryly and turned his eyes away, not daring to look directly at the woman in front of him. With such close contact, the woman's orchid-like fragrance continued to fill his nose, constantly stimulating the man's fragile nerves. Sorry, I didn't stand firmly just now. Yang Jiadong quickly found an excuse, pulled Jiadong's arm away and sat aside, then scooped a handful of hot spring water and poured it on his face, trying to force himself to calm down. Jiadong found Yang Jiadong's serious look even more interesting. He was very confident in his looks, and it would only take a flick of the finger for a man to fall in love with him. And this man actually managed to control himself when they were in physical contact, which made her look at him with new eyes, and even raised her opinion of Yang Jiadong a little bit. Yi Jiani slowly moved closer in the water. What, are you avoiding me? How could that be possible? You are not like that. Aren't there only a few things that men think about when approaching women? You have helped me twice, and I didn't thank you. It just so happened that I fulfilled your wish. Yi Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong with a smile. Hearing this, Yang Jiadong guessed that his chance encounters with Yi Jiani these times seemed to have attracted her attention, but fortunately, she was just mistakenly thought to be trying to get close to her, which was not a big deal. You misunderstood, I don't have that intention. Okay, seeing how serious you look, I guess I misunderstood you. But you are too serious. I think I am still somewhat attractive. For someone like you who is not interested in women, either your wife is strict with you or you are gay. Which one are you? Neither, I'm normal. Yeah? So you don't want something to happen to me? Yi Jiani's eyes narrowed and she pointed her finger at the man's broad chest. I thought about it, but I don't like women to be too proactive. Besides, I felt that we had known each other for too short a time to have that kind of intimate relationship, so I took the initiative. That's right, you are the first man who took the initiative towards me. Well, you are really different from other men. They all take the initiative to talk to me, but you are avoiding me. Interesting. Yang Jiadong, what kind of man are you? Yi Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong with great interest. A normal, self-disciplined and principled man. Okay, even if you are. This hot spring is too hot. I'll just soak in it for a while. I'm going back to my room to rest. How about you? Yi Jiani stood up and showed her perfect figure to Yang Jiadong without any concealment. I'll soak for a while longer. This hot spring is just the perfect way to relax after a tiring day at work. Okay then, I'll go back first. Yi Jiani took 2 steps and stopped again. She turned around and glanced at me. I'll give you one last chance. Come to my door tonight and knock 3 times. I will open the door for you. I also think that it's better for women not to be so proactive, right? After Yi Jiani finished speaking, she winked at Yang Jiadong and left. This woman left Yang Jiadong and was still in a daze taking a bath in the hot spring pool. Yi Jiani is extremely beautiful. If a man could have a kiss with her, it would be his dream. Now he has offered himself to me. It is a rare opportunity, but I just can't do it. It's not that Yang Jiadong doesn't want to, but that he can't. As long as he thought about Xiaolin still working hard for the two of them, he couldn't do anything to let his girlfriend down, right? Even though he knew that as long as he slept with Yi Jiani tonight, he would have completed the task given by Zhu Luyan, he was still very conflicted. However, Yang Jiadong was still a little confused. Yi Jiani seemed to be too proactive. Was it just because he had helped him? Or is it just this skin that I disguised myself? Think about when I was delivering food and I met beautiful ladies, they all looked down on me. Sure enough, whether a man can pick up a beautiful woman depends on whether he has the ability and whether he has enough money in his pocket. With a wry smile, Yang Jiadong stood up from the hot spring pool, tidied himself up and returned to his room. He didn't even consider knocking on Yi Jiani's door. From a psychological point of view, the more unattainable something is, the more interested in it. Unfortunately, Yi Jiani is very confident in her looks. This will help her save face and perhaps arouse her competitive spirit. If she didn't go to Yi Jiani's room as she wished, there was a great chance that this woman would continue to pester her. In this way, after leaving the resort, she would have the opportunity to make plans for Zhu Luyan and achieve their goals. After returning to the room and calming down, Yang Jiadong suddenly recalled the figure in the restaurant that looked like Xiaolin. After thinking about it carefully, he seemed to feel that Xiaolin's behavior recently was a bit weird. Out of instinctive suspicion, Yang Jiadong felt that Xiaolin might be hiding something from him, but he still didn't think about the possibility of cheating. Thinking of Xiaolin's dedication to the two of them and her love for him, he didn't believe that Xiaolin would cheat on him. After hesitating for a long time with his phone in hand, he finally called Xiaolin. Xiaolin, is it tiring to be on a business trip? After Yang Jiadong asked this question, he held his breath, trying to hear some clues from the phone. Suddenly, he seemed to hear a man's voice from the phone, but the voice was quickly stopped by a woman's voice. It was just an accidental sound, but Yang Jiadong heard it very accurately, which made her heart feel like it was suddenly strangled. Xiaolin, where are you? There is someone next to you. Episode 18. What's wrong? Of course there are people around me. Xiaolin answered casually. It's so late and you're still outside. Who is with you? Yang Jiadong really wanted to ask Xiaolin directly if she was with other men, but after hesitating, he still tried to test her in a tactful way. Not telling you. Xiaolin started to act naughty at this time, which made Yang Jiadong's eyes red. He was already worried about Xiaolin, and this deliberate non-answer made him a little angry. Where are you? Who are you with? How come there is still a man around you? What's wrong? Why are you so fierce? Are you doubting me? Sorry, Xiaolin, I'm not doubting you. I just heard a man's voice and got a little excited. Yang Jiadong adjusted his mentality. The two have been together for a long time and rarely have arguments. Yang Jiadong also lost his composure for a moment. Humph, I'm angry and I won't talk to you anymore. After saying that, Xiaolin hung up the phone. At this moment, Yang Jiadong became really anxious. He hurriedly called again, but Xiaolin hung up directly. Yang Jiadong stared blankly at the screen of his mobile phone, his mind starting to wander uncontrollably. What could Xiaolin do when she's with another man so late at night? Will it be in the same room? Will they have sex? These thoughts made Yang Jiadong upset, but he could only continue to dial Xiaolin's number reluctantly. At first, Xiaolin hung up the call directly, and later he simply didn't answer it. Yang Jiadong felt very upset. He knew that it was wrong for him to doubt Xiaolin, but he couldn't help but think about it. Since Xiaolin didn't answer the phone, he had no choice but to keep sending text messages to apologize, hoping that Xiaolin could see it and begging him to answer the phone. But when Yang Jiadong called Xiaolin again, Xiaolin's phone was turned off. Hello, this makes Yang Jiadong even more confused. I'll call back later. He walked around the room scratching his head, not knowing what to do. At this time, there was a knock on Yang Jiadong's door again. He didn't want to open the door, but the door kept knocking. Who is it? What's up? Unable to control his anger, Yang Jiadong rushed to the door, opened it, and roared fiercely without caring who was at the door. Yijiani, who was waiting in the room, originally thought that Yang Jiadong had come back, but after waiting for a long time, she only heard the sound of the door of the next room closing. She knew in her heart that this man would not come to see her again, and she felt a little disappointed, yet also somewhat unwilling. Yijiani was very confident about her looks, but she was rejected by Yang Jiadong. This aroused the woman's strong interest. After thinking about it, the man's appearance was in her mind. She looked at the fruits in the room, took the fruits and tried to find a reason to find the man to chat. However, she didn't expect that not only did he not open the door after she knocked for a long time, but she was actually violently scolded by the man as soon as she opened the door. Yijiani was frightened and the fruit in her hand fell to the ground. She looked at Yang Jiadong timidly. Sorry, I'm not being mean to you, something just happened. Yang Jiadong closed his eyes slightly and relaxed his expression. He was in no mood to greet Yijiani right now, but seeing the woman looking scared and delicate, he had to patiently apologize. You were so scary just now. You scared me. I'm sorry. What do you want from me? Yang Jiadong asked calmly, but his face was gloomy. I originally picked up some very sweet fruits for you to eat, but look, they all fell to the ground. Yijiani pointed at the fruit that fell on the ground. Yang Jiadong frowned slightly, squatted down and picked up the fruits scattered on the ground. Thank you. I accept your fruit. Why don't you invite me to sit down first? Seeing Yang Jiadong was about to close the door, Yijiani asked quickly. The rooms are all the same, there's nothing to do. Also, I've said I don't like women who are too proactive. I still have work to do, so I won't greet you. You are really unromantic. I just want to chat with you, I don't have to do anything with you. What do you mean by rejecting me like this? Yijiani was also a little angry, as if she felt that the man in front of her looked down on her, as if she was shameless enough to go to bed with him. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you, I just felt a little upset about what happened just now, and I couldn't control my emotions for a moment. Actually, I am willing to chat with you, but Yang Jiadong saw that Yijiani was angry, and he felt a little flustered. If he offended this woman, he would not be able to complete his mission. The man apologized in a panic with an embarrassed look on his face, but he couldn't organize any good words because of the confusion in his mind. Humph, I don't care. I was scared by you just now. You must apologize to me and comfort me. Yi Jiani's pretty face was cold as she looked at Yang Jiadong, not knowing whether she was really angry or just angry. I'm sorry, I really didn't mean to be mean to you just now, it's just that, oh, I just don't know how to comfort you. Yang Jiadong was very embarrassed. Looking at you, I can tell you are not very good at coaxing women. No wonder you are still single. I wonder how many women have been driven away by you. Go wash the apples and peel them for me. Yi Jiani rolled her eyes at the man, then walked into the room and sat down carelessly. Yang Jiadong felt helpless, but he could only follow the instructions: wash the apples, peel them, and hand them to Yi Jiani. What a fool! Is there anyone like you? Yi Jiani glared at Yang Jiadong coquettishly, took the apple and knife from the man, cut a piece, and handed it to the man's mouth with a smile. Yang Jiadong took a look, ate it nervously, and then forced a smile awkwardly. What made you so angry just now? If the reason is sufficient, I will forgive you. Yi Jiani also cut a piece and put it into her mouth, as if asking casually, but in her heart she was very concerned about the man's answer, and vaguely wanted to know more about this strange man. This is mainly a company matter. There was a business that had been assigned and everything was arranged and prepared thoroughly. Unexpectedly, there was a problem in the final connection. As a result, all the previous efforts might be wasted. Yang Jiadong thought quickly, and after calming down, he quickly organized his speech in his mind. At this time, Yang Jiadong's cell phone rang again. He took a quick look and saw that it was Naixialan calling back. Yang Jiadong excitedly picked up the phone. Hello. Yang Jiadong glanced at Yi Jiani and quickly walked aside to answer the call. If there hadn't been a woman in the room, the man would have almost been unable to resist questioning Naixialan. See, it's your fault. You kept calling me and my phone ran out of battery. Episode 19. Naixialan first gave Yang Jiadong an explanation. Oh, what now? Where are you? Yang Jiadong was very anxious, but he didn't dare to ask too clearly. Being in the same room with her, he was afraid that Yi Jiani might hear something. I'm still outside, what's wrong? Are you angry? Naixialan heard Yang Jiadong's cold voice and asked worriedly. No, I'm just worried. How are you now? Yang Jiadong took a deep breath. He had all kinds of questions in his mind, but he didn't dare to ask. What else can I do? I'm going back to the hotel to rest. How about you? At home. Naixialan answered casually. Are you alone? After Yang Jiadong glanced at Yi Jiani, he nervously asked her what she was most concerned about was whether Naixialan was with other people and whether there was any man around her. Oh, you still don't trust me. Seeing that you speak so coldly, you must be angry. I was outside with my colleagues just now. Of course there were a lot of people there, and I was not the only one on this business trip. Yeah? I just felt a little strange just now. Who are you with? Yang Jiadong was very depressed. She wanted to ask Naixialan directly if there were other men around her, but she didn't dare to ask. She was so anxious that she could only think of ways to ask indirectly. It's a colleague, don't worry, it's a woman. The man's voice you heard just now was a passerby. It just so happened that when you called me, someone was talking next to you. Naixialan seemed to have given a very reasonable explanation. Yeah, is that so? Maybe I'm overthinking it and I'm just a little worried. Can I have a word with him? After hesitating for a moment, Yang Jiadong finally made this request. Although he didn't hear clearly what the man said just now, how could Yang Jiadong feel at ease with such a strange voice? Besides, Yi Jiani couldn't let her know what the man was doing now. In comparison, Yang Jiadong was more skeptical. You just don't believe me, right? Oh, okay, I'll give the phone to my colleague. Shirley, my husband is checking on me, can you help me prove it? After Naixialan finished speaking, he handed the phone to the person next to him. Soon, a strange woman's voice came from the phone. Hello, are you Xiaolin's husband? Well, hello. Yang Jiadong nodded in agreement, vaguely feeling that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell why. Don't worry, Xiaolin and I are on a business trip. It's okay. I will keep an eye on him for you. The woman named Shirley answered with a smile on the phone. Oh, okay, thank you. When you come back, I'll treat you to a meal when you're free. Okay, let me give Xiaolin the call. After saying that, Naisyelen's voice sounded on the phone again. How about it, do you believe it? Oh, sorry, it's not that I don't believe you, I'm just a little worried. Hearing that Naiselen seemed a little angry, Yang Jiadong quickly comforted him, HMPH, I don't want to care about you now. I'll settle the score with you when I get back. I have a lot to do this time, so I may have to move to another place in a couple of days. Okay, pay more attention to rest. It's getting late, go back early. Yeah, okay. Dad, I'm dead. After Naiselen finished speaking, he hung up the phone without waiting for Yang Jiadong to answer. The man took the hung up phone, looked at it, then put it in his pocket, then looked at Yi Jiani apologetically and smiled, sorry, I just arranged for my employees to work overtime. It's okay, I've handled it. Yang Jiadong chose his words very carefully when questioning Naiselen, which made it much easier for him to explain. It seems that you are a strict boss. You make your employees work overtime so late. If it were me, I would definitely quit. Yi Jiani didn't seem to find anything unusual. There was nothing she could do about it. She had to devote herself wholeheartedly to her own company. Besides, I paid them a good salary, and there were overtime allowances and bonuses if things were done well. Of course, their work requirements were also stricter. After listening to Naisyelen's explanation on the phone, I felt a lot more relieved, but I still had some doubts. Occasionally thinking back to the figure he saw at the resort, this seemingly sufficient explanation still could not dispel Yang Jiadong's suspicion. Well, you are right. You work so hard, don't you want to find someone to help you share the work, or relax when you are tired? As Yi Jiani spoke, she lifted up her long legs, the view under her skirt disappearing in the blink of an eye. At the same time, she gently supported her chin, looking at the man in front of her with moving eyes and laughing. Isn't it true that I haven't met the right one yet? Oh, by the way, where were we just now? Yang Jiadong quickly changed the subject. What were we talking about before? Let me think about it. By the way, you scared me just now. We were talking about compensation before. How do you plan to compensate me? Yi Jiani smiled, and her pair of charming eyes seemed to hint at something. Didn't I peel an apple for you? Oh, you want me to cut it into pieces and feed it to you? Idiot, even if this is consolation, I don't want it. So what do you want? Besides, I didn't mean to be mean to you just now, you just bumped into me. You are such a fool. Is it because your emotional intelligence is too low? Or do you really not know? Or maybe you really have no interest in me. Yi Jiani put down her legs, stood up, walked to Yang Jiadong, and looked at him carefully with her beautiful big eyes. Maybe I am more reserved. Yang Jiadong was embarrassed. The woman's meaning was very clear, but she didn't have such intention. Implicit? So you mean I'm more promiscuous? No, I didn't mean that. Oh, sometimes I don't really know how to get along with beautiful women. Yang Jiadong quickly explained that she didn't want to make this woman angry and she didn't know how to get along with women. That's a good reason, but what about your employees? Aren't there any beauties? Doesn't foreign trade business require beautiful women to do public relations? Are there no female employees? How do you get along with them? Yi Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong curiously. This is different. That's work. I'm the boss, so naturally I handle it according to employee relations. And alas, they are not as pretty as you. I don't have that much thought. Yang Jiadong found an excuse and secretly flattered Yi Jiani. Yeah? You are really a rare creature. Let me teach you. Yi Jiani said as she pulled Yang Jiadong's wrist and led her to the sofa. Afterwards, the woman stretched out her body and lay on the sofa. She squinted her eyes slightly, hooked her finger at the man, and motioned Yang Jiadong to come closer. Seeing Yi Jiani's charming appearance, although as a man he wanted to conquer her at all costs and gallop on this woman, Yang Jiadong felt a little disgusted with this woman who kept taking the initiative to come to him. Episode 20. At first, I was somewhat attracted by her beautiful face, but after getting to know her for a while, I felt that this woman might be too materialistic and was good at using her advantages to seduce men. Why is he so proactive towards me? I guess it's because people think that Yang Jiadong is not only good looking, but also young and rich, a typical bachelor. Suddenly, Yang Jiadong noticed a flash of clarity in Yi Jiani's charming eyes, and he immediately became alert. Yi Jiani is a very beautiful woman, a rare beauty, and this beauty teases him again and again, but as a normal man he remains indifferent. Isn't it a bit too strange? Just as Jiadong said before, if a man has no reaction at all when facing the seduction of a beautiful woman, it is either because he is too stubborn or because of his strict family education. Anyone with a little common sense can see that there must be a problem. Besides, Jiadong is also a woman who looks very smart. After realizing this, Yang Jiadong slightly raised the corners of his mouth, looking a little strangely evil. He let go of his thoughts and began to look at the proud figure of the woman in front of him nakedly. In that case, can you teach me what to do? Yang Jiadong approached Jiadong with aggressive intent in his eyes. This look made Jiadong a little scared. After dodging slightly, she said coquettishly, "You're so annoying. Who told you to be like this? Aren't you going to teach me? I'm learning." Yang Jiadong stood up and tried to get closer to the woman. "Don't be like this. Since I said I would teach you, you must listen to me." Jiadong stretched out a finger and placed it on Yang Jiadong's chest, blocking her perfunctorily. The strength of this finger is so strong that even a child can easily break through it. But Yang Jiadong stopped following the finger and looked at Jiadong with a half smile. Then how can one be obedient? Now there is a beautiful woman lying in my room, and I'm afraid I won't be so obedient. You are such a joke. Sign first. Didn't you just say that you don't like women who are too proactive and don't like women who come to you? Now you've changed your mind. I came to you just to bring you some fruit, not to give myself to you to eat. Jiadong giggled, feeling a little trembling. Facing a man showing obvious desire, she didn't seem to be afraid at all. Then tell me, what do you want to call me? Yang Jiadong raised his eyebrows and sat neatly beside the woman. Jiadong smiled slightly, sat up and leaned on the man's shoulder, not caring about her body being pressed against the man's arm, and whispered into his ear. When a woman lies down, it doesn't mean she can let the man do whatever he wants. Jiadong stretched out her finger and drew circles on Yang Jiadong's chest. I gave you a chance before, but you gave it up. Opportunities are rare and will never come back. You should keep your word. Yang Jiadong turned his head and looked at the charming woman. She was clearly saying no, but she was constantly teasing him. What was this woman planning? Of course, I have a good impression of you, but I am not a casual woman. There are some things that I can just do impulsively. Once I calm down, I naturally cannot act on my temper. Jiadong stepped back a little, leaned on the sofa and looked at Yang Jiadong. Okay then, let us behave ourselves. So tell me, what do you want me to do now? Yang Jiadong said with a serious tone. Oh, what's wrong? Are you unhappy? Are you hardened because things don't go your way? I want to teach you how to make a woman happy after you have offended her. What just happened is not over yet. Jiadong was not worried at all and looked at Yang Jiadong with a playful expression. Okay, are you teaching me? Yang Jiadong nodded and looked at Jiadong's proud body with fascinated eyes, as if this was what a normal man should look like. Okay, give me a massage, Qianqian. I'm very tired after walking all day. The massage in the hot spring pool was not satisfactory. If you make me feel comfortable this time, I won't bother with you about what happened just now. There was a flash of urgency in Jiadong's eyes, and then she lazily lay down on the sofa. Yang Jiadong frowned slightly. He was becoming more and more confused about this woman. He originally thought that it would be easy for him to complete Zhu Luyan's task, but now it seems not so simple. Judging from the provocative attitude this woman is showing now, it would be difficult to have sex with her even if I didn't control my heart deliberately. Even though Jiadong just said that she would knock on his door at night and do whatever she wanted after entering, now it seems that it is not that simple. Perhaps this woman also guessed Yang Jiadong's thoughts and knew that she would not come, or perhaps even if Yang Jiadong went, he would have other reasons to refuse. This woman is extraordinary. She is very good at keeping men in suspense. No wonder Zhu Luyan's husband would rather give up his equally beautiful wife and choose to support Jiadong. After realizing something in his mind, Yang Jiadong, although doing the massage according to Jiadong's wishes, was much more disciplined and did not act rashly at all. Although Jiadong, who was lying on her stomach, was enjoying the massage with good techniques, she frowned slightly. Yang Jiadong is too well behaved. This is different from what he imagined. He rejected the man's request for sex, and asked him to massage him as a bit of compensation and seduction. If it were any other man, he would definitely not be able to resist taking advantage of him,
and then he could act again. But Yang Jiadong was very well behaved and didn't show any joy at all. After a moment of doubt, Yijiani curled up the corners of her mouth into a smile. If such a man could succeed, it might be the most interesting thing. Thinking of this, Yijiani's legs seemed to move slightly, and her skirt, which was not very long, could not cover the charming scenery. Yang Jiadong took a quick glance and his breathing suddenly quickened again. The hands that were massaging the woman's waist seemed to move a little. Yijiani could feel the movements of Yang Jiadong's hands, and the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. She was quite satisfied with the man's reaction. As expected, all men pretend to be serious. They can't resist after a little temptation. However, Yijiani couldn't be proud for too long. The woman was stunned. Yang Jiadong's hand slid to the woman's thigh. She just helped Yijiani adjust the hem of her skirt, thus covering up the scenery that was not covered before. Yijiani's eyes moved left and right, recalling the man's reactions before and after. Could it be that this guy is really a very self-disciplined man? While I was frightened, I also became more interested in this man. Yang Jiadong held his breath, pulled down the woman's skirt, and then gave her a relaxing massage. Episode 21. To be honest, he was not very good at this. He learned it by searching for information on the internet using his mobile phone when Nicelan was not feeling well. Judging from the number of massages he has had in recent years, I'm afraid he can count them on one hand. Okay, the massage is over, so that wraps up what we just did. Although your technique is average, I can't expect too much from you. After all, you should be a man who enjoys massage. Yijiani sat up with a smile, not caring that a corner of her clothes had slipped down, revealing half of her shoulders. Is there anything else that won't happen? That's okay. It's getting late. Besides, we're a man and a woman alone in a room. It might be bad for your reputation if it gets out. Yang Jiadong seems to be trying to kick you out, but you don't know anyone here, so what are you worried about? You just don't like being with me so much. Are you afraid of me? I'm not afraid of you, I'm afraid that I can't control myself. You are so beautiful, and being with you requires a lot of self-control. You are really good at talking, but it seems that either I am not beautiful enough in your heart, or you are too strong in self-control. We spent quite a bit of time together, and you didn't do anything to me, did you? Yijiani blinked and looked at Yang Jiadong. This was obviously a little white rabbit, but it was disguised as a wolf and broke into a wolf's den. He also said that he was originally a tiger but pretended to be a kitten. Yang Jiadong smiled and said something else lightly. Yijiani was stunned for a moment, and after thinking about the meaning of the man's words, she smiled again and said, "Whatever you say is what it is, but what I am depends on what you are." After the woman finished speaking, she stood up from the sofa, straightened her clothes, and walked towards the door. Well, okay, let us stop here for tonight. Will you come with me to walk around this resort tomorrow? Very happy. Yang Jiadong bowed slightly as a gentleman, then walked to the door and opened it for Yijiani. Yijiani looked at Yang Jiadong again with a smile and walked back to the next room. After closing the door, the man breathed a sigh of relief. He was always thinking about how to deal with Yijiani. This put a lot of pressure on Yang Jiadong, who was afraid that he would accidentally reveal any clues. The man was tired after a day of ups and downs in his mood. He lay on the bed and quickly fell asleep. At night, Julian couldn't fall asleep after talking to Yang Jiadong on the phone. He paced back and forth in the room with his cell phone, seemingly making a decision. The mobile phone number was not switched to Yang Jiadong's number, but to her husband Lin Haoran's number. Thinking about Yang Jiadong's warning not to act rashly, he felt that his intimacy with Yijiani at the resort was an opportunity, and he should hurry up and contact Lin Haoran to catch them in the act. I thought about it over and over again, but still couldn't come up with a good idea. After hesitating for a long time, the woman took out a phone card that she had prepared long ago and sent a text message to Lin Haoran, saying that your woman is fooling around with other men at Shuhai Resort, so you should be more careful. The content of this text message took me a while to think about. Julian didn't want to reveal that it was her doing, but she was afraid that Lin Haoran would be able to see some clues. After sending the text message, he quickly turned off his phone, took out the SIM card and flushed it down the toilet. Regardless of whether doing so will affect Yang Jiadong's plan, he is determined to give it a try. Although Yang Jiadong gave him a good impression, the two of them had known each other for too short a time. As a precaution, Julian was still worried that this man would find excuses to delay time,
or even make up excuses to cheat people out of their money. Thinking of this, Zhu Luyan quickly checked the credit card bill he gave to Yang Jiadong. It seemed that in such a long time, there was only one transaction of a few $100s. After knowing the situation, Zhu Luyan frowned slightly. It was not that she felt that Yang Jiadong spent too much. On the contrary, she felt that this man only spent a few $100 at the resort. This was too frugal. Didn't he spend any money on other expenses? Doesn't he spend money to please Yijiani? Thinking of this, and recalling her previous contact with Yang Jiadong, Zhu Luyan suddenly felt that she was too mean-spirited to take away the father of a gentleman. She suddenly felt a little regretful that she had tried her best to send a message to Lin Haoran. Would it ruin this man's plan? I originally wanted to notify Yang Jiadong so that this man could be mentally prepared, but after thinking it over, I gave up. Regardless of whether it succeeds or not, I have to take a gamble. In case it causes any trouble to Yang Jiadong, I can just give him more money as compensation. Relaxed, Zhu Luyan didn't think too much about it and went back to his room to sleep. But the next day, she was awakened by a burst of urgent ringing. She picked up the phone and saw that it was her husband Lin Haoran calling. Hello, Haoran, what's up so early? Aren't you on a business trip? Are you tired? Take care of your health. Zhu Luyan quickly said what she wanted to say. She was worried that once Lin Haoran started talking, she would not have a chance to speak. After asking, where are you? Lin Haoran's voice sounded very cold. I'm at home, what's wrong? I'm at the door, you're at the door. Haoran, you come to see me, please wait, I will open the door for you right away. I haven't put on makeup yet, wait a minute. Zhu Luyan's eyes were full of surprise. He didn't care that he was still wearing messy pajamas and his slightly haggard face, and ran to the door barefoot. After opening the door, Lin Haoran stood at the door with a frosty face, looked Zhu Luyan up and down, and then walked into the room without saying a word. Haoran, why are you back? What's up? Lin Haoran had no intention of paying any attention to him. He walked straight into the room and checked the closet, under the bed, and behind the curtains, not missing any clues. Haoran, what's wrong? What are you looking for? Zhu Luyan asked doubtfully, but secretly thought to herself, could Lin Haoran's unusual return be related to the message she sent last night? He still regarded me as his woman, so he came back to catch me and see if I was fooling around with other men. But Zhu Luyan remembered that he had made it clear last night. Were you alone at Shuhai Resort? Of course, since you left, I have been alone all the time. Zhu Luyan nodded, looking a little miserable. He said, you haven't been out recently. Have you met any strange people? Episode 22. No, where else can I go except visiting the company? Zhu Luyan shook his head, but he knew very well in his heart that Lin Haoran was testing him. Suddenly, Lin Haoran seemed to have thought of something, his expression tensed and he was about to walk out of the room. Haoran, where are you going? It's rare for you to come back, can you please stay with me more? Zhu Luyan grabbed the man's arm desperately. Let go, I have things to do. Lin Haoran frowned and looked at Zhu Luyan fiercely. Haoran. Zhu Luyan looked at the man in front of him miserably. He didn't expect her to be so heartless. I don't want to say it a second time. Lin Haoran emphasized his tone. Zhu Luyan bit her lips until a trace of blood appeared, but she could only let go helplessly. Haoran, do we have to be like this now? We're done, understand? Think about the divorce carefully again, and feel free to mention any conditions you have. Lin Haoran answered seriously, then left Zhu Luyan's room without looking back, leaving a woman sitting there, sobbing silently. Suddenly, Zhu Luyan showed a hint of viciousness. He could guess that Lin Haoran was in such a hurry because he must have gone to Shuhai Jujiar village to come to him first. However, it was also a subconscious reaction that he came to see if he had cheated on him and made him a cuckold. If he happened to catch him, he would have a legitimate reason to divorce him. When I realized that there was nothing wrong with me, I thought that the little bitch Yijiani might have a problem. Thinking of how Lin Haoran was so worried about Yijiani, Zhu Luyan felt sad again, and became more determined to get Yijiani away from Lin Haoran. The woman took out her cell phone and sent a message to Yang Jiadong, saying, my husband is going to the resort. You must stay close to that bitch during this time. Let my husband see you being intimate. If you succeed today, I will give you an extra 100,000 yuan. Yang Jiadong was currently touring the resort with Yijiani. This resort, which cost an unknown amount of money to build, covers a large area and has quite a complete range of facilities, from massage and nail painting to amusement park facilities. Some of the scenic spots are also arranged according to some famous landscapes in the world. No wonder it is hard to get a ticket here, and only the rich or noble can enjoy it. The two were very close to each other, and Jiadong casually held the man's arm, looking like a couple. They were walking through a sea of flowers, admiring the beauty of the sea of flowers. However, while Jiadong was enjoying herself, Yang Jiadong was thinking in his heart, it would be great when he could bring Nicelan to such a beautiful place to play. The sudden sound of a text message alert interrupted the man's thoughts. He picked up his phone and looked at it. His expression changed in a moment. He couldn't help complaining in his heart that Zhu Luyun was too hasty. What's wrong? You look unwell. Is there bad news? Jiadong glanced at Yang Jiadong and asked with concern. But this woman was very sensible and did not peek at the contents on the man's phone. It's nothing, I just saw my employees sending me messages, it's retribution, work issues. Yang Jiadong shook his head and calmly put the phone into his bag. He couldn't let Jiadong see the contents of the phone. Then you have to go take care of the work. No need. It's a beautiful day with my family by my side. I'll forget about work for now and deal with it when I'm free. Yang Jiadong smiled, stretched out a hand, and took the initiative to hold the woman's shoulders, making the two of them look closer. Zhu Luyun had already made the decision on his own. It was useless for him to complain. He could only follow the woman's arrangements. It would be good to finish the task early, but whether he could accomplish it depended on luck. Jiadong glanced at the man with her beautiful big eyes, but did not reject his affectionate embrace. Instead, she leaned on the man. Let us go over there and take a look. There, we can see the scenery below the mountain. Yang Jiadong took Jiadong to an observation deck not far away. Judging from the building location of the observation deck, Yang Jiadong felt that they should be able to see the situation at the entrance of the resort at the foot of the mountain from here. The two walked into the observation deck. The resort had thoughtfully placed several telescopes to allow guests to appreciate the scenery of nature in the distance, which also made it more convenient for Yang Jiadong to observe. Look at how lucky Liang Wangjing is. He can see wild rabbits and other things on the hillside. Oh, really? Then I'll take a look. Jiadong was very happy and used a telescope, seemingly looking for wild animals on the distant hillside. Yang Jiadong stood at the side and looked down the mountain. The distance was too far and everything below the mountain looked as small as ants. He could see people coming and going occasionally, but he couldn't tell who they were, let alone see Zhu Luyun's husband in advance. I can't see it. I can only see trees and stones. Please help me find it. Jiadong pulled Yang Jiadong to make way. This was exactly what Yang Jiadong meant. He put his eyes closer, looked around, and then turned the camera to the foot of the mountain. When Yang Jiadong saw clearly the man and woman getting off a car at the foot of the mountain, he suddenly clenched the binoculars and stared over with wide eyes. How is that possible? Yang Jiadong exclaimed in his heart, he actually saw Nicelan. When Yang Jiadong turned the camera just now, he actually saw Nicelan and several men and women standing next to a car at the foot of the mountain. He was sure that the woman was definitely his girlfriend Nicelan, but today Nicelan was dressed more beautifully, showing her feminine charm and elegance. How could Nicelan come here? Isn't he on a business trip? I clearly spoke to him yesterday, and my colleagues also confirmed it. Could it be that Nicelan was lying to me? Yang Jiadong left the lookout, thinking with a complicated expression and feeling panic in his heart. How about it? Did you find the hair? Jiadong's urging voice sounded beside her. When Yang Jiadong saw Nicelan, he was panicked for a moment and did not notice Jiadong's question. What's wrong? What are you looking at so intently? Let me see. Jiadong pulled Yang Jiadong with some dissatisfaction. Oh no. I was just looking for it. I seemed to see a shadow, and then it disappeared in the blink of an eye. Yang Jiadong quickly turned around and explained, really, let me look for it. Jiadong was very excited to try this. Yang Jiadong quickly leaned closer to the telescope and took a look, trying to confirm Nicelan's presence again, but when he looked again, the group of people were no longer there at the foot of the mountain. Feeling complicated, he could only give up his position in disappointment, and then said in a concealing manner, you go look for him, it seems he has run away. Really, your eyes can scare away rabbits thousands of meters away. Why didn't you show me earlier? Jiani rolled her eyes at Yang Jiadong, grumbled in dissatisfaction, and then put her eyes close to the telescope again. Episode 23. The woman waved the telescope around, then stopped moving. She suddenly moved away from the telescope, her eyes turned left and right in panic, and then quickly stuck to the telescope again. Yang Jiadong was preoccupied with something and didn't notice the sudden strange behavior of the woman. After Jiani left the telescope again, her expression seemed to become a little ugly, and there was a hint of an inexplicable look in her eyes as she stared at Yang Jiadong. Well, let us stop here for today. Jiani forced a smile and suggested. What's wrong? Are you tired? Yang Jiadong just asked casually. In fact, he was confused by the figure of Nixialan he saw just now, and his mind was not on this anymore. Well, something happened, I have to leave for a while. Well, how about we make a pact? Jiani seemed to want to leave, but before leaving, she stopped and looked at Yang Jiadong very seriously. Agreement, well, I will leave for a while, and maybe give you some tests. If you satisfy me, I will give you a reward. Of course, if I don't look for you during this period, you can't look for me and you can't talk to me, how about that? There was a hint of nervousness in Jiani's eyes. So what kind of agreement and test is this? Yang Jiadong frowned. She was a little surprised by the sudden change in this woman, but she quickly figured out the reason. Could it be that this woman discovered that Lin Hiren came to the resort? Is this to avoid myself and prevent Lin Hiren from discovering the trick? But Junuyun had just sent a message, asking him to quickly resolve the battle with Jiani, and even added a bonus of 100,000 yuan. The 100,000 yuan made Yang Jiadong excited, but the appearance of Nixialan made the man upset. After thinking it over, Yang Jiadong felt that she didn't have the energy to plot against Jiani at the moment. She wanted to find Nixialan in the resort to confirm her guess. Oh, never mind, will you just promise me? I will give you a satisfactory reward then. Jiani grabbed Yang Jiadong's arm and started acting coquettishly. Well, okay, it's up to you. We'll separate now. Be good, I'll go first and you can't follow me. Let us see how many times we can meet by chance in this villa. How much fate do we have? Jiani found a good excuse, stood on tiptoe, kissed the man on the cheek, blinked, and quickly disappeared from the man's sight. Jiani left, and Yang Jiadong had no intention of following her. Although the woman's sweet kiss was still on his cheek, he didn't care. He quickly walked to the watchtower and carefully checked the environment of the resort through the telescope. Finally, he could only leave with doubts. When he looked again, he didn't see Nixialan. Could it be that this woman had already moved into the resort? Or is it that Nixialan was actually on a business trip, but he was actually staying in this resort all along? If the person I saw just now was really Nixialan, does that mean that this woman lied to me before? But what is Nixialan doing at the resort? Suddenly, Yang Jiadong thought of the man's voice that accidentally flashed on the phone. Could it be that Nixialan had an affair? His so-called business trip was just to accompany the man here to enjoy himself. Yang Jiadong was in a state of confusion. He didn't want to believe that Nixialan would betray him. He even began to doubt his own eyes, suspecting that he had seen it wrong. The woman he had just seen looked like Nixialan, but in fact she was not. Yang Jiadong had seen all of Nixialan's clothes, but he had never seen the beautiful outfit that Nixialan had just worn. Could it be that he had seen it wrong and just saw a similar person? Nixialan had never been as gorgeous and domineering as he had just seen. The more Yang Jiadong thought about it, the more confused he became. He wanted to confirm what he had seen, but was afraid of getting an answer he didn't want. After hesitating for a while, the man walked towards the service desk. On the way, he looked carefully at the women around him, but there was no sign of Nixialan. Arriving at the service desk at the foot of the villa, he hesitantly asked the beautiful receptionist, "Hello, is there a person named Nixialan staying in the resort? Who are you to him? Also, could you please provide your name and room number? I am her boyfriend, my name is Yang Jiadong. Oh, the room number is 8809. After operating the computer for a while, the waiter politely answered, "Mr. Yang, it's like this. I just found out that you are staying in the resort, but you are asking about the information of other customers now. I don't have the authority to answer your question. I don't have permission. I'm not asking which room he lives in. I just want to ask whether I received this person today or in the past 2 days. Can't I even answer this? Yang Jiadong was a little annoyed. Sir, please calm down. Our resort has a policy that customer information is kept confidential, so I'm sorry that I can't answer your question. Okay, never mind. Yang Jiadong waved his hand and left. It seems that it is impossible to find out whether Nixialan is in the resort from the bar. The only option left now is to look for Nixialan in the resort by myself, but the resort is very large and the chances of finding him are slim if I just look around randomly. Suddenly, Yang Jiadong had an idea. Everyone in the resort needs to eat, and the resort has a special dining place. As long as he stays in the restaurant during mealtime, wouldn't he be able to see basically all the customers in the resort? In this way, it would be much easier for me to find Nixialan. I looked at the time and it seemed that there were still several hours before the next meal time, so I had no choice but to wait a little longer. He planned to walk around or get a massage to relax his overly tense body. After walking a few steps, Yang Jiadong saw two intimate men and women walking towards him. Yi Jiani walked in sweetly holding Lin Haoran's arm. Although Yang Jiadong had only met Zhu Luyan's husband Lin Haoran once, the fact that this man was accompanied by Yi Jiani easily awakened Yang Jiadong's memories. After taking a quick look at the two of them, it was easy to spot the panic in Yi Jiani's eyes. She seemed very worried that Yang Jiadong would go up to say hello. Yang Jiadong's mind raced. If he went up to her and said something at this time, would it be possible to create some misunderstanding between Yi Jiani and Lin Haoran, and make Lin Haoran suspect that Yi Jiani had an affair with him? But now there seems to be no actual evidence to prove the relationship between the two. If he really acts rashly, Yang Jiadong feels that with Yi Jiani's intelligence, she may be able to easily clear himself of suspicion. Moreover, the plan will definitely fail. If he wants to ruin the relationship between the two of them, Yi Jiani will definitely feel resentful and probably won't want to have any contact with them from now on. Episode 24. After realizing this, Yang Jiadong began to feel somewhat dissatisfied with Zhu Luyan's rash arrangement. This woman is really too impatient. Yang Jiadong and Yi Jiani walked past each other, his eyes only lingering on the two of them for a moment before moving away. However, he deliberately let out a half smile at the corner of his mouth so that Yi Jiani could see that he was cooperating with her performance. This woman must have known what was going on, and she had to continue acting like this so that she could continue her and Zhu Luyan's plan after leaving the resort. However, just as the three were about to pass each other, Lin Haoran suddenly stopped. Wait a minute, friend. Lin Haoran's voice shocked Yi Jiani and Yang Jiadong. They had never expected that Lin Haoran would speak at this time. Are you calling me? Yang Jiadong hesitated for a moment, then stopped and calmly asked Lin Haoran, Yes, friend, have we met before? Lin Haoran took 2 steps forward and looked at Yang Jiadong carefully. Yi Jiani looked at the two of them with some worry, and finally chose to stay obediently beside Lin Haoran without saying a word. I don't think so, my friend, you look rather unfamiliar. Of course not necessarily. Maybe we have met somewhere but just forgotten it. But she was very worried that Lin Haoran would recognize her. After all, when they first met, he was just a delivery man, but now he was dressed in a suit and looked like a rich second generation. If Lin Haoran recognized her, it would probably cause Zhu Luyan a lot of trouble. May I ask your name, my friend? Where can I find a good job? Lin Haoran asked with a reminiscent look and a smile. Is this important? I don't really like people checking my background. Yang Jiadong pretended to show a hint of charm. Anyone would be unhappy if questioned by a stranger, even if that person spoke politely. Oh, sorry, I just thought my friend looked familiar and wanted to get to know him, nothing else. By the way, let me introduce myself first. My name is Lin Haoran, and I'm the CEO of a software company. I seem to have a good impression of you, so maybe we can have a chance to cooperate in the future. Lin Haoran knew that he was lost, so he introduced himself first. I'm in overseas trade, so I don't think there will be much overlap between us. Yang Jiadong's expression relaxed slightly and he expressed some regret. Overseas trade. Lin Haoran thought about this, and then shook his head. In the area of foreign trade, although I have acquaintances, the relationship is rather strained now. My friend, if you don't mind, please leave me your business card. In addition to running a software company, I also have several other businesses. Maybe there will be opportunities for cooperation between us in the future. Yang Jiadong was puzzled. Why did this man want to know him so much? Was it because they had met once and he had some impression of him? After thinking it over, I said, "Sorry, I didn't bring my business card. My name is Yang Jiadong. It is better to meet by chance than to meet in person. But I still have some things to deal with now. I will have a good chat with Brother Lin when I have the chance." Yang Jiadong, "Well, I'm sorry to have wasted your time. I just came here to take a look and will be leaving soon. If necessary, you can talk to my girlfriend." Lin Haoran looked at Yi Jiani beside him, and there was a hint of surprise in the woman's eyes. "Well, okay, goodbye." Yang Jiadong glanced at Yi Jiani and then left calmly, laughing in his heart. This guy Lin Haoran actually didn't know that he had known Yi Jiani for a long time and was planning to cheat on him. Lin Haoran smiled when he saw Yang Jiadong leaving. He thought this guy was interesting and had a unique personality. "Honey, what's wrong? Why do you suddenly want to meet a stranger?" Yi Jiani took Lin Haoran's wrist and asked curiously. "It's nothing, I just thought this man looked familiar, so I just asked casually. But it seems that he won't give me this face. I guess that guy is a rich second generation, and I don't know what kind of business his family does." "What, you want me to get in touch with him and get to know him better? Want me to seduce him?" "No, you are my little baby, how can I bear to let you seduce other men? If you want to seduce someone, then seduce me." Lin Haoran smiled and pinched Yi Jiani's pretty face. Yuck. Why did you come here suddenly? Aren't you going on a business trip?" "It's okay, I just missed you and came to see you. This is a nice village. I wanted to arrange for clients to come here to enjoy it several times, but I couldn't book the tickets." Lin Haoran found an excuse, but in his heart he was carefully judging whether Yi Jiani had an affair with a man, as the strange text message said. "Oh, what luck, you wanna stay here with me? My ticket is only good for 3 days." Yi Jiani looked at Lin Haoran expectantly. "Let's see what the situation is. If you meet that person again, you can help me find out a little bit about him. You don't have to ask him specifically. I just feel that the person looks a little familiar, but I can't remember where I have seen him before. Of course, you have to protect yourself and don't let the bad guys take advantage of you. Don't worry, only a bad guy like you can take advantage of me. If I meet you in the remaining 2 days, I will just ask you casually. Be good, then let us go to your room and take a look." There was a hint of anticipation in Lin Haoran's eyes, and a smile on his face that every man understood. "Bad guy, I knew you had bad intentions." Yi Jiani showed a hint of shyness on her face, which made the man even more excited. She let Lin Haoran put his arms around her shoulders and led the man to her room. Although Yang Jiadong said goodbye, he actually did not go far. He found a corner and secretly observed the two people for a while. We can see that Lin Haoran has two completely different attitudes when facing Yi Jiani and when he saw this man at Zhu Luyan's house before. Yang Jiadong sighed for Zhu Luyan in his heart. It seemed that the hope for this woman to get Lin Haoran back was very slim. In a trance, he heard the sound of a group of people talking and laughing. He looked up and saw a familiar figure turning into the resort's elevator again. Yang Jiadong hurriedly chased after him, but the elevator door had already closed. Feeling nervous, he could only stay at the door temporarily and watch the last floor the elevator stopped. In addition to building a number of architectural landscapes on a hill, Shuhai Resort has also built several high-rise buildings, which can be said to have fully utilized the advantage of the land. When Yang Jiadong saw the elevator stop at the 5th floor, he ran up the stairs without hesitation. When he got to the 5th floor, he found that this was a place for massage, which coincided with the place the man wanted to go before. But Yang Jiadong was not in the mood to enjoy a massage. He looked around the rooms, wondering where Nixielin had gone. Did he have to look for him one by one? Episode 25. Just then, he saw a waiter walking up to the bar reception desk. Yang Jiadong hurried forward and said, "Hello." "Oh, a group of people should have come up just now. Where are they?" "A few guests came up just now, but they split into two sides, the women went to the left and the men went to the right." "Are you with them?" "Which room is the woman in?" "My wife forgot to take something, I need to go get it for her." Yang Jiadong found an excuse. "It's at 832. "But sir, you can't go over there. That side is not for gentlemen. Otherwise, I can take it for you." The waiter persuaded Yang Jiadong to stop. "No entry for men." "Never mind. I'll wait." Yes sir, what would you like to drink?" The timer is now full, so if you want a massage, you may have to wait a while. No need, I'll just sit here for a while and a technician will arrange it for me later. Yang Jiadong found a seat at the door and sat down. Seeing some debris and newspapers on the coffee table in front of him, he thought for a moment, picked up a magazine and pretended to read it, just using the cover of the magazine to cover his face. After a moment of calm, Yang Jiadong suddenly felt that he wanted to confirm whether Naixialan was here, but he couldn't let Naixialan find him, otherwise it would be difficult for him to explain this matter. I pretended to read a magazine for a while, but the time really passed in a boring way. Occasionally, some customers came up and asked, but there were no technicians left, so they went somewhere else. During this time, some technicians came back and forth and I didn't know what they were doing. The longer Yang Jiadong waited, the more restless he became. He suddenly became very worried. What if Naixialan came out and saw him while he was sitting here? Yang Jiadong believed that Naixialan was familiar with him, just as he was familiar with Naixialan. Even though he covered his face with a magazine, he could still tell from the figure whether he knew the person. The waiter at the bar happened to leave for something, and after thinking for a moment, the man put down the magazine in his hand and quickly ran to the women's room. All Yang Jiadong wanted to do was to confirm whether Naixialan was there. He would just take a look and then leave immediately. Room 832 is not difficult to find. It is just around the corner. As soon as I turned the corner, I saw a technician walking towards me with his head lowered. Yang Jiadong was greatly panicked. He had been warned to stop before. If he was seen by others, wouldn't he be arrested as a pervert? Looking around, he found that there was no place for him to hide. He could only press his body tightly against the wall, not daring to breathe. Fortunately, the technician seemed to be concentrating on his mobile phone and did not look up at the front. He walked slowly forward, relying on his memory of the corridor. He only looked up slightly when he felt he was about to reach the corner, and then lowered his head again after turning. Yang Jiadong was standing close to a doorway behind the corner, watching the technician walk towards him with fear in his eyes. When he saw the technician walking past him, he quickly turned the corner and breathed a sigh of relief. Then he looked at the house number and found 832. He looked at the door hesitantly, wondering whether to go in. It was already a very risky thing for him to suddenly break into the women's area. Suddenly, he noticed that the door was not closed tightly, leaving a gap, unlike the door he had avoided before, which was closed tightly. Could it be that the technician just came out of this room? Leaving the door open will also make it convenient for you to go in later. If that's the case, it would be much more convenient for Yang Jiadong. As long as no one in the room noticed him, he could just take a quick look and leave. After hesitating for a moment, Yang Jiadong pushed open the door. Through the narrow gap, he could see that there was nothing happening inside, which further confirmed his guess. The man no longer hesitated, quickly walked into the room, and then closed the door gently. This time I took a careful look at the room. It was a very ordinary small room, not much different from an ordinary massage room, except that the decoration was more unique and it had a bathroom. There was a faint fragrance in the room, probably the scent of women's skincare products or something. In the center was a large massage bed with a woman lying almost naked on it, except for a towel covering the embarrassing area below her body. The woman had a good figure and smooth skin, and her hair was wrapped in a towel. Yang Jiadong looked at the woman's back nervously and was in a dilemma. Just by looking at her back, he couldn't tell whether this woman was Naixialan or not. Although their figures were somewhat similar, there were too many women with similar figures. Besides, the woman's hair was tied up, so he had no idea whether it was Naixialan or not. Yang Jiadong suddenly felt a little flustered. This was not a place for a man to stay, and there was a naked woman here. If he was discovered, he would not be able to wash himself clean even if he jumped into the Yellow River. She looked around, trying to see if there was anything of the woman in the room, perhaps to confirm her identity through her clothes or handbags. Unfortunately, there was nothing here except a bathrobe. Was the only way to confirm her identity was to find a way to make the woman turn around. How is this possible? If this woman is not Naixialan, what will she do if she sees me? Even if it was Naixialan, how should I explain his appearance here? Yang Jiadong thought about it and suddenly felt that he was too rash to barge in. Even if he was anxious to confirm Naixialan's existence, he should not do such a risky thing. According to the previous plan, wouldn't it be enough to just wait in the restaurant? After realizing this, Yang Jiadong prepared to find a chance to leave. Unexpectedly, just as he took a step, The woman lying on the massage bed suddenly reached out and grabbed Yang Jiadong's wrist. "Well, I'm back. Please continue massaging my back." The woman spoke, but because she was lying down, her voice was a little hoarse and it was impossible to tell whether it was Nicelin. However, Yang Jiadong was being pulled like this and could only stand still. It was very difficult for him to break free. Yang Jiadong's wrist was suddenly grabbed, and he panicked and didn't dare to move. Fortunately, the woman was still lying down, so her identity was not exposed. She thought quickly that if she broke free and ran away, the woman might get up immediately to check, and she would definitely be exposed. But now that someone was holding her hand, he couldn't leave. Was he only able to give this woman a massage? After thinking it over for a while, he couldn't think of a better way, so he could only respond softly in a shrill voice, then put his hand on the woman's back. The woman's skin was very white, and Nicelin's skin was also very white, but most beautiful women had fair skin, so cold whiteness could easily cover up ugliness. However, this did not allow Yang Jiadong to identify the woman's identity. Episode 26. After massaging with a little force, Yang Jiadong could feel that the woman's skin was very tight. He estimated that she was not very old and indeed suspected that the person lying there was Nicelin. He tilted his head slightly and tried to see the woman's face, but with a massage bed that allowed him to bury his face, there was really no chance at all. Yang Jiadong had no choice but to continue massaging, and as he was not so good at it, he could only imitate him. Fortunately, the woman didn't seem to feel anything unusual. She just lay on the massage bed motionlessly and enjoyed it. This woman has great curves, and her most attractive parts are only covered by a towel, which makes any man feel excited when seeing it. But Yang Jiadong had no mind to appreciate the scenery. Unable to bear the sight of the woman, Yang Jiadong was only thinking about how to escape. He couldn't just keep pressing the button like this. What if the technician came back? Or what if this woman raises her head? He tried to find an opportunity to leave, but he didn't expect that his force was wrong. The woman murmured and asked him to use a little more force and lift the back of the car. It was a very simple sentence, but Yang Jiadong heard it clearly this time. This was not Nicelin's voice, which meant that the woman lying on the bed was not his girlfriend at all. This made him even more panicked. Since it was not Nicelin, there was no point in him staying here. At the same time, he was wondering where Nicelin had gone. Didn't the waiter just say that among the group of people who came, the woman entered this room? Did I make a mistake? The person you saw before wasn't he Nicelin? Yang Jiadong wanted to deceive himself, but under the high-power telescope, he could be sure that he had indeed seen Nicelin. He was thinking about something and his movements slowed down. What's wrong with you? She seemed absent-minded. The essential oils didn't work and she didn't even apply skin care products on me. The woman complained and seemed to look up to see what was going on. Yang Jiadong was shocked. He would be in trouble if this woman saw him. His subconscious reaction was to hold down the woman's head, but he did not dare to use too much force. Fortunately, this woman was not moved after being arrested by Yang Jiadong. Yang Jiadong guessed that the woman thought he was pressing the acupoints on the back of her neck, so he started pressing them too. At the same time, he looked around and found something that looked like essential oil on a table next to them. He didn't care about it and picked it up with one hand and poured it on the woman's back. Then he stood in a horse stance, pressing the woman's neck with one hand and massaging her back with the other hand, without stopping on both sides. Well, you have a good technique. Where did you learn it? The woman let out a comfortable hum. The massage that the man gave her by accident seemed to have satisfied the woman a lot. She didn't show any intention of looking up again. She buried her face quietly on the massage bed, relaxing and enjoying it. But Yang Jiadong was in a panic. He had been here for a while and didn't know where the technician had been. He should have come back by now, right? How should I get out of this situation? Just as he thought of this, Yang Jiadong heard footsteps outside, and the sound was getting closer and closer. Oh no, could it be that the technician is back? What to do? Yang Jiadong was very anxious and had no time to massage the woman in front of him. After thinking for a while, he freed one hand and made some noises on the table, as if he wanted to tell the woman that he was fiddling with the bottles. Then, without caring whether the woman would look up or not, he quickly dodged and rushed into the bathroom at the door, leaving the door ajar. Just as they were dividing their powers, Yang Jiadong had just entered the bathroom, and the female technician who had almost caught him just now walked in with some cupping equipment. However, the female technician did not seem to notice the difference in the room. She walked straight past the bathroom with the door ajar, and at the same time casually pulled the door open, intending to close it. Seeing this, Yang Jiadong quickly stretched out a foot and just blocked Jingyu's closed door. When the female technician walked in, she dodged again, jumped out of the door and closed it at the same time. The female technician who entered the room heard the sound of the door closing. She took a quick look but did not react any extra. Instead, she saw the greasy back of the woman in front of her and frowned. "Let me give you the cupping jar now, okay?" After Yang Jiadong went out, he didn't know what was going on in the room. He looked around and saw that there was no one there. He breathed a sigh of relief. It was a close call just now. However, when he walked back, Yang Jiadong ran into trouble again. The waiter who was at the bar had returned to his seat. If he walked out like this, he would definitely be questioned. In desperation, Yang Jiadong could only find a corner to hide and wait for an opportunity to slip out. Fortunately, the waiter seemed to be busy and got up and walked to other rooms after a while. Yang Jiadong hurried out at this time, and only after he walked downstairs did he finally relax completely, feeling very grateful. After taking a breath and taking a rest, he became confused again. He clearly saw Nixialan and a group of people walked into the elevator, and the elevator stopped directly on the 8th floor. So where did Nixialan go? It couldn't be that I really had seen it wrong this time, and the person who walked into the elevator was not Nixialan at all. I originally wanted to go back and see what was going on, but after careful consideration, I gave up this plan. I was already very reckless just now, and there is no need to take the risk now. Although he wanted to confirm that Nixialan was indeed in the resort, he did not want his identity to be discovered by Nixialan. Looking at the time, it wasn't long before dinner time, so the man simply walked straight into the restaurant and found a remote corner to sit down. The service at the resort was very thoughtful. Although it was not yet time for dinner, a waiter still came up to ask Yang Jiadong what he wanted to eat. The man was not interested in eating. After casually ordering a glass of wine, he sat quietly in the corner, watching everyone who came in and out of the restaurant. When it was time for dinner, more and more people came to eat, some in groups of 3 or 5, and some just alone. There are beautiful women, handsome men, women with plump hips and waists, or men with big bellies, but none of them are Yang Jiadong's targets. His eyes are all focused on the beautiful women, like a man looking for prey in a nightclub, and it seems that a glass of wine on his table is too abrupt. He called the waiter for help, picked up a few dishes at random, and ate while staring at the people in the restaurant. Gradually, more and more people came to the restaurant. Some of those who ate faster had already started to leave, but Yang Jiadong was still looking for his target in the corner. Suddenly, when a group of men walked in from another door of the restaurant, his eyes lit up. Although there were men blocking his way, he still felt that he had discovered Nixialan. He leaned slightly, trying to get a closer look at the woman in the distance, and was almost able to see her front. Episode 27. The woman in the distance who looked like Nixialan attracted all of Yang Jiadong's attention. If she moved a little bit, or took a few more steps, she would be able to see her clearly. But at this moment, a figure suddenly stood in front of the man, accompanied by a scent of a woman. What are you looking at?" Yijiani asked curiously. Yang Jiadong was shocked. Yijiani just blocked her view. If she wanted to see the woman in the distance again, she had to move. However, her abnormal behavior would definitely attract Yijiani's attention. If she glanced away again, she would have missed the best position to see the woman. Yang Jiadong had to hold back his annoyance and asked Yijiani with a cold face, "Why are you alone? Where is your man? Look at how cold you are. Are you jealous?" Yijiani looked at the man's face with a smile. "Jealous? Why should I be jealous? TSK, stop denying it. Look at the way you look now, it's obvious that you are unhappy. Are you angry? Why don't you ask about my relationship with that man?" Yijiani looked at Yang Jiadong with some flattery. Although Yang Jiadong was angry, it had nothing to do with what Yijiani said. She was just annoyed that this woman blocked her view. "Don't ask, I don't want to know. Besides, why are you coming to me if you're not with her?" Since Yijiani thought she was angry with him, she was happy to pretend. "He has left, and before he left he asked me to take good care of you. So what?" "No, so what? I just want you to know that she is not my boyfriend." Jiani hesitated for a moment and looked at Yang Jiadong with a pitiful expression. "He's not your boyfriend, why are you telling me this? This is actually a bit complicated to explain. I am with him just to repay a favor. Let me tell you a story." Jiani seemed a little sad, and then told Yang Jiadong a very melodramatic story. The general meaning was that this woman's family was poor and she could not afford to go to school, and then a man funded her, both in life and studies. Later, the woman graduated and got together with the man to repay him. Well, it's a story with a lot of emotion and righteousness. After listening to this, Yang Jiadong commented lightly that if he didn't know some facts, he might have been deceived by this woman's pitiful appearance. "Do you think I'm not a good woman?" "No, everyone just has different ideas. The woman in the story did nothing wrong in her choice. After all, it is a good thing to repay a favor. Do you think the woman in the story is still qualified to find her own happiness?" Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong expectantly. "Everyone has the right to find their own happiness. I have no other opinion about you or the woman in the story." Real. Well, okay, actually it was just a story, but the man just now was a married man, and he just wanted to be with me." Unexpectedly, Jiani changed her way of saying it, which made Yang Jiadong look surprised. He never expected that Jiani would be so straightforward. "So you mean you are mistress? Can we say that? I don't deny it, but this is not what I want. I want to give up this relationship, but he said he wanted to divorce his wife and marry me. I know his wife hates me, but I don't want this either. I don't know what to say about this." Yang Jiadong was silent. He didn't understand what Jiani meant by telling him this. Did she guess his identity? This woman overturned her own story again, making Yang Jiadong unsure how much truth there was in her words. At this time, it would be better for her to speak as little as possible to avoid revealing her true identity. "It's okay, you don't need to say anything. I just think you're great. You're different from other men I know. When they see me, they think about how to get into bed with me, but you don't seem to have that intention at all." Jiani picked up the red wine on the table and took a sip, not caring that the wine was brought by the Yang family. "Maybe, I'm just not that casual, and I can control myself." "You said that as if I were being casual." "Hey, you know I'm a mistress, do you still dare to continue contacting me?" "Well, I guess that doesn't prevent us from contacting or getting in touch, right?" "That's good. I am very satisfied with your performance just now. According to our previous agreement, I should give you a reward. I can probably agree to whatever you want. I don't actually want anything. I don't say anything because I don't want to ruin other people's relationships. If you must give me a reward, just answer me a question." Yang Jiadong did not show any joy. Facing Jiani's confession, she was very cautious and also had many questions in her mind. "Question. Okay, go ahead and ask, but I won't necessarily answer. Of course, I think it would be a good idea for you to change to a more practical reward." Jiani gently shook her feet under the table and secretly rubbed the man's calf. Yang Jiadong could directly feel the charm emanating from this woman, and secretly cursed her in his heart. What a little witch. If it wasn't necessary for the mission, he would always keep his distance from such women. If he married such a woman, he would probably have a grassland on his head. "Why are you telling me this?" This question made Jiani stunned for a moment. She pursed her lips and restrained the little movements she was making secretly. After a moment's silence, I answered very seriously, "Maybe you don't believe it, but I think I might like you a little bit." "Like me?" "Har har har. TSK, we've only known each other for 2 days, your joke is not funny." Yang Jiadong was stunned, then he picked up the food on the table and started eating with a wry smile, trying to hide his embarrassment. "I'm not kidding. Maybe you think I'm a shameless woman, but I also want to grasp my own happiness. I take the initiative because I like someone. When I fall in love with a man, I will restrain everything and everything I have will only belong to that man." Jiani seemed particularly serious when she said this, as if she was a lady from a noble family who was determined to pursue love until death. Jiani's words shocked Yang Jiadong. Episode 28. Is this woman confessing her feelings to her now? How is this possible? Jiani has fallen in love with me after only knowing me for a few days. Yang Jiadong recalled his plan to trick Jiani and racked his brains to think about psychology knowledge, trying to figure out how much truth and falsehood there was in this woman's words. At first, Yang Jiadong thought that Jiani might be a rather cold woman, and he was mentally prepared for a long-term attack. However, he did not expect that after picking up this woman on the road and bringing her to the resort, it seemed too easy to succeed. Is this woman really in love with me, or is she also plotting against me and wants to use me as a stepping stone? Or maybe she was tired of Lin Hauran and wanted to change her taste. No wonder, in the designed image, Yang Jiadong is a handsome, wealthy, single aristocrat, so it is not surprising that he can attract women. We still don't quite understand each other about this. I think I already know what I want to know, and I have also told you about myself. What else do you want to know? Or what aspect do you want to know? Yijiani blinked, her eyes full of temptation, and her image changed quickly. She looked serious just now, but now she turned into a charming little goblin. No, I mean your personality, hobbies, or other things. You are still a slow warm type, but it's good to get to know you better. I also want to find a man who I can entrust my life to. Of course, the premise is that you don't dislike me. Well, no, I don't mean to dislike it. But your boyfriend seems to be quite capable. If I want to steal his girl, will it cause trouble? His career is quite broad, but what you said is true. Maybe he is very possessive. If he knew I was following you, he would inevitably be a bit too strict. So it seems that I have to be careful. I vaguely remember that Zhu Luyun also said something similar. If Lin Hauran found out that he was hooking up with his woman, he would inevitably be beaten. Given Yang Jiadong's true identity, compared to Lin Hauran, he would probably have to suffer in silence if he was beaten. If he wanted to retaliate, he would have to consider whether he was strong enough. What, are you scared? Yijiani looked at Yang Jiadong with a puzzled expression. Yang Jiadong was frightened and quickly controlled his expression. He couldn't show any signs of cowardice at this moment. He smiled slightly, leisurely took back his wine glass, took a sip, and then said calmly, "Well, I'm not afraid. It's easier to resolve a feud than to create one, right? He and I are both doing business. Although our current projects are different, it is inevitable that we will cooperate, right? Besides, there are not too many people in a circle, but not too few either. It would not be a good thing to cut off your own source of income. From what you said, it seems that you don't want to provoke him." Yijiani frowned slightly, seeming a little disappointed. Not necessarily. I built up this empire from scratch and I'm not afraid of anyone. But I'm a businessman and I have to consider whether it's worth it. Oh, really? What this means is that it depends on how important I am to you. Of course, I don't like Xu Yu Wei very much. To be honest, I hope you don't mind. I feel that I have too little contact with you and I am not familiar with you. Although I have a good impression of you, it is not enough for me to give too much for you. What do you think? After Yang Jiadong finished speaking, he snapped his fingers, signaling a passing waiter to bring a glass of wine. You are quite direct. I was right about you. I felt that you were different from the beginning, but I can also see your serious side. If it were any other man, maybe they would just use sweet words to hook me now, and when they have had enough fun, I would no longer be valuable and would get nothing in the end. The most valuable time for a woman is her youth. After that, when she gets old and loses her looks, it will be difficult to find a good husband. Feelings are important. Of course, I also hope to live a good life while having feelings. To be honest, I feel very relaxed and you are also very direct. Of course, I hope my other half is a leisure pillar, not just a beautiful vase. Of course, in terms of ability, I think I am not inferior to most women. I have a CFA, and I know many of Lin Hauran's clients. If you need anything, I can introduce them to you. Yijia, you are very confident, you are really amazing. However, if you introduce your boyfriend's clients to me, wouldn't that be cheating him? Then if you follow me and meet a more satisfactory man, won't you cheat me in the same way? Yang Jiadong frowned slightly and asked seriously. No, you're overthinking it. As long as you treat me well in the future, I will definitely follow you wholeheartedly and manage our home well. Yijiani answered very solemnly. Har ha ha ha, Yang Jiadong responded and then laughed. What are you laughing at? Don't you believe me? No, of course I believe it. I feel that our previous conversation was a bit strange. Were we on a blind date to exchange feelings or something? Or maybe there aren't many couples who understand each other as well as we do. Yes, but I like to speak the truth like this, without having to pretend. If we are in a relationship and still have to scheme against each other, then I hope we can develop further. Yang Jiadong raised his glass to gesture, but he sighed in his heart. Yi Jiani is a woman who is so beautiful that in the eyes of rich people, she may just be a plaything. From a simple chat, it can be seen that Yi Jiani does not want to live a life where she needs to please men, and does not want to rely on calculating men to live the life she wants. And my appearance might just happen to allow Yi Jiani to see a way out. If a woman can be the principal wife, she will definitely not want to be a mistress who is not allowed to be seen in public. Well, hopefully we can continue to develop smoothly. Yi Jiani also picked up the wine glass, clinked it with Yang Jiadong's, and took a sip. Little did they know that all these contacts were just routines, just another design. No matter how much this woman loves Yang Jiadong, in the end it will be in vain. After Yang Jiadong and Yi Jiani had a small meal together and walked around the resort for a while, they prepared to return to their room. At the door of the room, Yi Jiani approached Yang Jiadong, reached out to adjust the man's tie, and asked shyly, "Are we going to separate and rest now? Don't you want to get to know me better?" Episode 29. Yi Jiani tucked her hair around her ears, revealing her delicate face, and slightly raised her body as if to show her seductive figure to Yang Jiadong. Yang Jiadong looked at the woman in front of him with a hint of fascination, but he was thinking carefully in his heart, why does Yi Jiani always seduce me? Does a beautiful woman have to seduce a man into bed to be considered successful? Or does she think that if she gets me into her bed, she'll have a better chance of becoming my partner? It is understandable that a beautiful woman can be very lethal to a man. Yang Jiadong's affair with Yi Jiani is actually a test for himself. Every time this woman tried to seduce her, she wanted more than once to put aside her concerns and control this woman. However, perhaps because of his many contacts with Yi Jiani, he has developed a certain immunity, or perhaps because of the influence of Naisielan's incident, this man does not have much sexual desire now. Although he has the urge to possess her, it is still within the control of his reason. Yang Jiadong smiled faintly and said, "We have plenty of opportunities and there is no need to rush. We already know too much now. Good night." After saying this, the man walked back into the room. There was no one else in the room, and Yang Jiadong breathed a sigh of relief that he could take off his disguise. He sat on the corner of the bed a little irritably, stretched out his hands and rubbed his temples hard. Whether it was the subsequent plans for Yi Jiani or Naisielan whom he suddenly saw today, it made Yang Jiadong very irritated. He even felt that his mind was very confused and he didn't know how to develop next. He still has 2 days left at the resort, which means he has to leave the day after tomorrow afternoon. During this time, he must maintain his relationship with Yi Jiani and also pay attention to Naisielan's situation. In fact, if you think about it carefully, it would be best to have sex with Yi Jiani in the resort, but the timing was not right when Lin Howren came, and now Lin Howren is gone. Even if he had sex with Yi Jiani, it would not have any effect, and at most he would just be trying to make himself happy. But thinking of Naisielan, Yang Jiadong was unwilling to do such a thing. He did not want to betray the feelings of the two. Even if he had to go to bed with Yi Jiani later, it was to complete Zhu Luyan's task. Besides, even if Yang Jiadong saw Naisielan in this resort, he still didn't believe that his girlfriend had betrayed him. Yang Jiadong was feeling depressed. His cell phone rang once and then he hung up. Then he heard a text message alert. Confusedly, he picked up the phone and took a look. It was a message from an unfamiliar number. It was also the same number. Had the goods arrived? After seeing the content, Yang Jiadong knew who it was. The man walked to the door, made sure it was locked, and called the number back. "Hey, you are quite cautious and just changed your number." "Humph, I'm afraid of delaying your work." "It is Zhu Luyan as expected. If you are afraid of delaying my work, you should not act on your own. I have warned you that if you act recklessly, the plan may fail. I would be irresponsible if I did that. I can't wait any longer. I want to know the result. Did Lian Howren go to the resort? Came here, gone. So, he saw you being intimate with Yi Jiani, and the plan was successful?" Zhu Luyan was very nervous. "No, Yi Jiani avoided me and went to find Lin Howren. I had no time at all, and he almost recognized me. You have such a good opportunity, why don't you make good use of it? How long do you want me to wait?" Zhu Luyan immediately became angry and said, "We agreed before that if you have a plan, then we will follow it. I'm not responsible if it fails. If my plan has a high success rate, then you have to listen to me and do everything my way. Your interference almost blocked the air supply in front of me. Since you have your own way, then okay, you tell me what I should do and I will follow your instructions. Let me make it clear first, I am not responsible if you fail, it is your responsibility. I don't need the remaining money, but I will not refund the prepaid money. Yang Jiadong was also a little angry. Zhu Luyun was also very angry, but knowing that it was up to Yang Jiadong to make the arrangements, he could only breathe a sigh of relief. Well, now that Lin Haran is gone, what are you going to do? You're not just thinking of enjoying a few days at the resort and stalling for time, are you? Since you don't trust me, why do you ask me to help you? I didn't beg you to give me this job, and I didn't spend a penny of your money. Yang Jiadong was unhappy. After arriving at the resort, he spent a lot of money, but he did not waste it and even thought about saving money for Zhu Luyun. However, this woman did not believe him. Sorry, I'm a little anxious, but you have to report the progress to me, right? What is your situation now? How long do I need to wait? Lian Haran is talking to me about divorce again. Do you want me to divorce him before you can get the matter done? Also, what about what you said about him almost recognizing you? Zhu Luyun took a deep breath and apologized. Thinking of what the man had said before, it was a way to change the subject. I don't know if I have met either of them. He has some memories of me, but he is not familiar with me. It may be related to the fact that I saw him at your house last time. But fortunately, he probably didn't recognize me. Also, don't worry, I am absolutely sure I can deal with Yi Jiani. The identities we have created are very successful, he is very interested in me, and if nothing unexpected happens, my relationship with him will continue to grow. After we leave the resort, I will create an opportunity for you, and then you can ask Lin Haran to come. Okay, I'll wait for you to come back and make further arrangements. Also, you should just spend what you need to spend in the resort, don't save money for me, and don't let him think you are petty and unmanly. I understand that I won't hesitate when it's time to spend money. Also, you have to help me perfect the identity we designed earlier. I'm afraid Yi Jiani will be suspicious after I go out. When he and Yi Jiani leave the resort, they will inevitably return to reality. By then, Yi Jiani may have access to Yang Jiadong's identity and background, so he must give a perfect demonstration. Otherwise, once he is exposed and Yi Jiani becomes suspicious, there will be no chance to carry out the next plan. Don't worry about this. Any other questions? Besides? Oh, never mind, it's okay, let it be. Episode 30. Yang Jiadong hung up the phone after he finished speaking. Originally, he wanted to ask Zhu Luyun to help investigate Nai Xiaolin's affairs, but after thinking about it, he gave up. He instinctively felt that family disgrace should not be made public, and even if Nai Xiaolin had problems, he would have to wait for him to discover them slowly. The next day, Yang Jiadong was woken up by Yi Jiani. When the man opened the door, Yi Jiani, still in her pajamas, rushed into his room without saying a word. Fortunately, there was nothing that needed to be hidden in Yang Jiadong's room, so he was allowed to do whatever he wanted. Yi Jiani didn't hesitate to go to Yang Jiadong's room and called for breakfast. The resort requires expensive tickets, but the service is quite good. Unlike many star-rated hotels, breakfast is not provided at a fixed time in the morning. Here, food will be delivered to guests' door at any time as long as they need it. Yang Jiadong was stunned for a moment, took out his mobile phone to check the time. Can he still order food now and have it delivered to the guest room? Yes, this basic service is still available. In other words, you don't have to go to the restaurant for lunch or dinner. You can just stay in the room and let the waiter bring it to you. Yes, why ask such an idiotic question? Yi Jiani looked at Yang Jiadong strangely. No problem, just asking. Yang Jiadong shook his head but thought to himself that if the waiters could deliver meals to the guests, then his plan of squatting in the restaurant would have a flaw, and Nai Xiaolin could just stay in the room and have the waiters deliver the meals to his door. However, thinking about the fact that there were still many customers in the restaurant during the previous 2 meals, Yang Jiadong could not confirm whether Nai Xiaolin would go to the restaurant for dinner, so he could only continue to look for opportunities and wait. Hey, do you know? I dreamed of you last night. Yi Jiani lay on Yang Jiadong's bed, her chin supported by her hands and her legs shaking. What happened to Meng Ju? Yang Jiadong took a quick look at the woman's seductive pajamas and then looked away. I dreamed that you bullied me and were rude to me. I wanted to struggle, but I was not as strong as you. Yi Jiani blushed slightly. Ah ha ha ha, dreams are the opposite, right? But your dream is really strange. Yang Jiadong smiled awkwardly. This woman seemed to be hinting at something again. Yes, I also think Meng is the opposite. Look how well behaved you are. Being well behaved doesn't he act like a man? Yi Jiani's words were somewhat provocative, but everyone is different. We still have 2 days left. What are you going to do today? Yang Jiadong changed the subject. Well, actually I feel like there is nothing special here, and there are so many things that it's hard to choose. After dinner, please accompany me to swim. I originally wanted to go for a SPA, but there are too few technicians here, and they always have to party when I go there. Swimming? Can. Yang Jiadong nodded. At this time, the waiter brought breakfast. There were not many items, but each one was very exquisite. When the waiter gave Yang Jiadong the bill, he realized that he had to pay for the food and tip the waiter. After having breakfast with Yi Jiani, the two of them walked to the top of the mountain to breathe some fresh air. When it was time for dinner, Yang Jiadong wanted to go to the restaurant to watch over Yi Jiani, but she had no intention of leaving. In desperation, he could only accompany this woman directly to the open-air swimming pool of the resort. Perhaps because it was mealtime, there were not many people in the swimming pool, with only a few people lazily lying on beach chairs enjoying the sun. This swimming pool is cleverly designed. A piece of open space is opened up on the side of the mountain to serve as the pool. The very edge protrudes from the mountain like a lookout tower. If you swim to the edge and look down, you'll have the feeling of looking down on all the mountains. Yang Jiadong changed into his swimming trunks and walked into the swimming pool to wait. Not long after, Yi Jiani, wearing a pink floral swimsuit, came out. The last time I saw this woman wearing a swimsuit was at night when we were taking a hot spring bath. Because of the lighting, I couldn't see clearly. Seeing her graceful figure in the daytime, Yang Jiadong was even more shocked. Tall figure, fair skin, slender long legs, it seems that when Newer created this person, she carefully molded all the advantages of a woman into her body. Fortunately, Yi Jiani was wearing a pair of sunglasses when she came out, which just barely covered up her beautiful face. Even so, several men who were swimming accidentally bumped into the side of the pool after seeing her. What are you looking at? Yi Jiani walked towards Yang Jiadong with a smile, showing off her perfect figure without any concealment. It's nothing, I just felt that you seemed to have changed into a new swimsuit. This wasn't the one you wore when you took a hot spring bath last time, right? Idiot, you just noticed the swimming instrument. So what should I pay attention to? Yang Jiadong pretended to glance at the woman's figure and smiled wickedly in disgust. The sun is not small. Aren't you wearing sunglasses? Yi Jiani raised her hand to block the sunlight. The ink was on the car, so she didn't go to get it. This little bit of sunshine doesn't matter. When you are working hard, you still work under the scorching sun. Yang Jiadong said this as he bent his arms, revealing a bunch of bulging muscles. The man's long-term delivery job gave him bronze skin, which was in stark contrast to Yi Jiani's skin color. At the same time, the man's abdominal muscles also made the woman look sideways, and she couldn't help but touch them with her hand. Don't touch it, I'm paying for it. Yang Jiadong reminded him in a serious tone. Just touch it, at worst you can let me pinch it. Touch it back. Yi Jiani was not polite and continued to pinch the man's abdominal muscles boldly. Stop it, there are outsiders here. Hey, don't you want to go swimming? Can you just do some relaxing exercises and then go down? Etc. After Yi Jiani finished speaking, she walked back to the store at the door of the dressing room. When she came back, she had a pair of sunglasses in her hands. Here, this is for you. It's better to wear sunglasses in such a strong sun. I may need to swim for a while. If you feel tired, just lie down on the chair for a while. Yang Jiadong looked at the woman with some surprise, then put on his sunglasses with a smile. Xielang, you look really cool in this outfit. Come and swim with me for a while. It is better to obey than to be respectful. Yang Jiadong took off his sunglasses, and as Yi Jiani played in the swimming pool for some time, the two of them swam to the edge of the pool and took a look, as if they were swimming in the clouds. Perhaps Yi Jiani did not have much time to exercise on weekdays, so she felt a little tired after swimming for a while, so she pulled Yang Jiadong back to the swimming pool. After the two put on their sunglasses again, the woman handed a bottle of sunscreen to Yang Jiadong and said, "Please help me apply some sunscreen." Others apply sunscreen on the beach,
but you have to apply it on the top of the mountain too. Episode 31. It's all the same, there's a strong sun, and it won't look good if you get tanned. Hey, hurry up. Jiani lay on the chair, and Yang Jiadong did not refuse. He took the sunscreen and poured it into his hand, ready to wipe the woman's back. At this time, several young women came out of the locker room. Yang Jiadong raised his eyes slightly and took a glance. He was stunned. The woman in a swimsuit in front of him was obviously Nicelan. He couldn't find her after looking carefully. But in this sudden glance, Nicelan actually walked past Yang Jiadong. The man was filled with anxiety. He was a little dazed and just stared at Nicelan in her swimsuit, like a man attracted by a beautiful woman. He even stopped applying sunscreen to Jiani. Nicelan was as beautiful as ever, wearing a white bikini-like swimsuit. Her cute baby face had a bit more charm of a mature woman, which made people want to conquer her. The woman walked past Yang Jiadong, took a quick glance, and turned her head away. Yang Jiadong was wearing sunglasses, and the large sunglasses covered most of the man's face. Nicelan's attention was not on this man, and for a moment she was unable to recognize that the man in front of her was her boyfriend. Yang Jiadong glanced at Nicelan in front of him and quickly lowered his head. His eyes, hidden by his sunglasses, were filled with disbelief and horror. Even though he tried his best to deny the fact that he saw Nicelan at the resort, when this woman walked past him, all his self-consolation seemed like a joke. Yang Jiadong could never have imagined that Nicelan, who told him that he was on a business trip and even found someone to prove the fact, was actually in the resort. What is going on? As far as Yang Jiadong knew, Nicelan's family was not rich and had no ability to enjoy the luxury of such a high-end resort. The fact that he could come here only means that someone brought him here. Who is this? Yang Jiadong looked around and didn't seem to see anyone else. He only saw Nicelan find a beach chair, put down the things he had brought, and slowly enter the water. What to do? Should I go up and expose it? He didn't recognize me. Did he really not recognize me, or was he pretending not to know me? Is he actually at the resort? How is this possible? He lied to me. Why? Yang Jiadong had countless questions in his mind. He looked at Nicelan playing in the water in astonishment, at a loss as to what to do. Hey, what are you looking at? Suddenly, Jiani's resentful voice was heard. The woman turned her head, lowered her sunglasses, and looked at Yang Jiadong with dissatisfaction. No, nothing. Yang Jiadong withdrew his gaze and answered angrily. He knew that he should continue with his task, but his brain was in a mess and he suddenly didn't know how to continue or what to do. It's nothing. If it weren't for the sunglasses blocking it, my eyes would have popped out. Is that woman so beautiful? Oh, it's not you, let me explain. Yang Jiadong said this awkwardly, but he didn't know what to explain. He was thinking in his mind, yes, I was wearing sunglasses, Xiaolin didn't recognize me, I can't let him know I'm here, I can also test him, I must know what he is hiding from me. Yeah? Snort. What does he explain? You've been looking for a while, how come that kind of woman is the type you like? Do you like women with baby faces? No, of course I like your type. That person, I just feel that he looks a little familiar. Yang Jiadong made a lame excuse. Har, you men are old-fashioned. The woman you like says she looks familiar, so why do you still want to go up and chat her up? Jiani sat up and looked at Yang Jiadong unhappily. No, I don't have that idea. Yang Jiadong shook his head, feeling very distressed, but his eyes involuntarily looked at his girlfriend Nicelan. Suddenly, Jiani stood up and grabbed the sunglasses off Yang Jiadong's face. After seeing the man withdrew his gaze in panic, she became even angrier and said, aren't you still looking at him now? I tell you, I'm very angry. Jiani stood up and threw her sunglasses aside angrily. Yang Jiadong didn't expect that this woman would actually snatch her sunglasses. After they were taken off, she quickly lowered her head. The dispute between the two attracted the attention of many people around. They glanced at Nicelan and saw that the woman was swimming towards the swimming pool, seemingly intending to take a look at the scenery in the distance. She did not look here for a while. Yang Jiadong breathed a sigh of relief and quickly picked up the sunglasses that Jiani had thrown away and put them on. He was suddenly afraid that Nicelan would recognize him. The man's subconscious reaction was that he didn't want Nicelan to know that he was also here.
Although he was very angry when he knew that Nisyelan lied, he still had some illusions and hoped that Nisyelan could give him an explanation. He loved Nisyelan very much and didn't want to be separated from him. But if Nisyelan found out that he came to this resort instead of doing his job and had a beautiful woman by his side, it would be absolutely inexplicable. Perhaps even if Yang Jiadong and Zhao Shi told him, Nisyelan would not believe it. Yi Jiani left the swimming pool angrily. Yang Jiadong knew he should chase after her, but he was more concerned about whether Nisyelan came alone or with others. Is this person with him a man or a woman? He quickly got up and walked to the door, but subconsciously looked in the direction of Nisyelan, while paying attention to the person walking in from the swimming pool entrance. Even if Nisyelan has a partner, he should have someone to accompany him when he goes swimming, right? Who is this person? Is it time to change clothes? Yang Jiadong was counting the time in his mind. He knew that he should chase Yi Jiani quickly, otherwise his plan might be ruined. But he was unwilling to accept that he didn't see Nisyelan's companions. Whether Nisyelan's companion is a man or a woman is very important to Yang Jiadong. Who is voting for whom? Come out quickly. Yang Jiadong kept urging himself in his heart while secretly calculating the time. He had to go after Yi Jiani and couldn't wait any longer. At this time, a man and a woman walked out from the swimming pool entrance at the same time, and they seemed to be walking towards Nisyelan. Seeing the two men, Yang Jiadong became extremely nervous. He could almost feel his heart beating, and his eyes, hidden behind his sunglasses, were staring at the two men. His fists clenched involuntarily, and he kept praying in his heart that it couldn't be that man, otherwise he would not be able to help but rush forward. You're still watching. Suddenly, Yi Jiani's angry voice came out. Yang Jiadong looked over in panic. Yi Jiani, who had already changed her clothes, glared at him angrily. Her eyes seemed full of disappointment. Then she really walked away. No, please listen to my explanation. Episode 32. Yang Jiadong knew that if he didn't chase after him, something bad would happen. Finally, he glanced unwillingly in the direction of Nisyelan and seemed to see the man walking in another direction, while the woman who went in with him walked towards Nisyelan with a smile. He breathed a sigh of relief, and Yang Jiadong didn't even bother to change his clothes and hurriedly chased after him. Yang Jiadong chased Yi Jiani to the guest room without caring about his image, but the woman rejected him without giving him any face. Yang Jiadong instinctively wanted to knock on the door and make up an excuse to explain to Yi Jiani to prevent this woman from lowering her favorability towards him, which would lead to the failure of the mission. But she just raised her hand and stopped when she was about to knock on the door. Yang Jiadong's mind raced. Yi Jiani's reaction was a bit too big. The two of them didn't have any actual relationship. So what was wrong with him, as a man, looking at a woman? Do I have to beg and coax her like an ordinary man? This seems to lower my own backbone a bit. You know, the image she is creating now is a slow to warm up type of man. He is interested in Yi Jiani, but not obsessed with her. Just because he saw a woman, he rushed after Yi Jiani in a panic, and didn't even bother to change his clothes to chase her out to comfort him. Is that okay? Yang Jiadong stood at the door of Yi Jiani's room, his eyes moving left and right. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that he should not be too proactive. Perhaps keeping a distance like this was the best way to hook up. In their previous conversation, it was Yi Jiani who first took the initiative to express her desire to find a reliable man to spend her life with, and it was not Yang Jiadong who had to fall at the feet of this woman. After realizing this, Yang Jiadong withdrew his hand that was about to knock on the door, calmly walked back to his room, and changed his clothes. Think about it again, Yi Jiani is also a woman after all. With a little analysis, it is not difficult to guess the intention of this woman. Maybe she wants to use the jealousy to see how important she is in Yang Jiadong's heart. It seems that necessary apologies and comfort are still necessary. Thinking of this, Yang Jiadong walked to the bar and found the waiter. In this resort, as long as you are willing to spend money, basically all services can be provided. With a simple swipe of the card, Yang Jiadong painfully spent 2 yuan just to buy a pot of 99 pink roses. Then take out a pen and paper and write a well thought out message on a beautiful card. I'm sorry for making you angry. I know it's rude to look at other women when you're around. But I still want to explain that, in my opinion, you are a very attractive woman. In the swimming pool, I looked at another woman, not because she was beautiful, but because of familiarity. This is not an excuse. When I first saw her, I thought she looked very much like a woman of one of my clients. She is a big client of mine and we have a lot of dealings with each other and have met several times during that time. If it was really as I thought, then it was very rude of me not to say hello. After all, it affected my vision, and I didn't know whether he recognized me or not. So I paid a little more attention and looked at him for a while longer. I didn't expect to offend you. I sincerely apologize to you. These 99 roses represent my heart. I hope you can accept my apology. If you will excuse me, then at 7 p.m., I hope I will continue to have the honor of having dinner with you. Yang Jiadong considered this speech several times, and after writing it, he checked it several times. Only after he felt that there were no loopholes did he put it into the roses. Her handwriting is very beautiful. As the saying goes, one can tell a lot about a person by his handwriting. Just a few lines of her handwriting give people the feeling of smooth flow and integrity. Yang Jiadong gently placed the roses at Yi Jiani's door and knocked 3 times, then walked back to his room. He had no intention of delivering the flowers personally, he just did this for the sake of formality and to avoid any embarrassment. Hearing the knock on the door, Yi Jiani opened the door with a resentful face, thinking that this man still had a conscience to comfort herself, but she didn't expect that when she looked around, she saw an empty corridor, which made him frown and lower his head slightly. When he saw a bouquet of beautiful pink roses, he showed a look of joy, squatted down and picked up the bouquet of roses, took out a card from it, looked at Yi Jiani, showed a smile, and then looked at Yang Jiadong's door. The original resentment in his beautiful big eyes had disappeared, and instead, he was filled with anticipation. He tilted his head and thought for a while, then smiled sweetly and returned to his room with the roses in his hands. Yang Jiadong did not close his door tightly. After he vaguely heard Yi Jiani close the door, she came out and walked to a flower bed not far from the door. She took back her mobile phone from a hidden corner, looked around, and when no one noticed, he hurried back to the room. The phone captured every move Yi Jiani made after she walked out of the room, and even the expression on her face appeared clearly on the screen. Yang Jiadong is a meticulous person. After secretly recording the video and seeing Yi Jiani's reaction, he can come up with a better countermeasure. Seeing Yi Jiani's happy expression on the screen, he was relieved, but he felt a heavy stone in his heart. The question of how Naisielan ended up here always bothered Yang Jiadong. After much hesitation, Yang Jiadong decided to call Naisielan again. The phone rang several times before it was answered. Yang Jiadong estimated that Naisielan might still be in the swimming pool, but it was not convenient for him to leave now. Otherwise, finding a corner to observe Naisielan would be the best way. "Honey, have you eaten?" Yang Jiadong tried hard to control his tone. "Well, I have eaten. How about you? Are you well behaved at home?" Naisielan sounded very happy. "Well, of course, I just miss you very much. How long will it take you to come back?" "Well, it's almost there, maybe 2 or 3 days at most." "Hey, do you want me to bring you a gift?" "No. By the way, you haven't told me where you are on business trip? What are you going to do this time?" Yang Jiadong asked casually. "What? Are you worried about me or investigating me? Are you worried about me?" "Humph, no, how could I not be confident in you? I just want to know more about you and worry about your safety. From what I saw on the internet recently, it seems that some places are not very safe." "Don't worry, I'm very safe here. What's more, I have colleagues with me. I'll be done soon and I'll be back." Naisielan still avoided the question. "Can't you just tell me where you are? Let me rest assured first. I want to tell you. But this business trip was quite relaxing, and the treatment was good. I won't say any more. Shirley and I are swimming. She called me. I'll talk to you slowly when I get back. I'm hanging up now." Naisielan hung up the phone in a hurry, as if trying to cover up something that was only making it more obvious. Episode 33. Yang Jiadong thought about it and knew that his girlfriend's words were very reliable. Although he tried to test her, he did not get a substantive answer. However, the only drawback was that Naisielan was indeed in the resort. If he did not want to be discovered by Naisielan, he would have to reduce his activities in the resort to avoid any unexpected situations. We still have 1 more day to spend at the resort, so it's better to be cautious during the rest of the time. For the following time, Yang Jiadong stayed in the room and did not walk around. He played hard to get with Yi Jiani. After giving her the roses, she didn't come to look for him again. She waited until 7 o'clock as agreed. After changing into more formal clothes, he once again knocked on Yi Jiani's door, personally holding the roses. Soon, the door opened and Yang Jiadong handed you the roses with a smile, hoping that this bouquet of roses could cheer you up and ask you to forgive my mistakes. When Yi Jiani saw Yang Jiadong holding a rose, a hint of joy flashed in her eyes. After taking the rose, she leaned against the door proudly, pretending to be still angry. Okay, don't be angry, I'm here to apologize, right? Yang Jiadong hurried to comfort her and at the same time looked at the woman's attire. Yi Jiani had already changed into a beautiful dress and seemed ready, waiting for him to invite her to dinner. Hearing the man's words, Yi Jiani put the flowers into the room. Why, am I important to you? You actually come to apologize so sincerely? I just don't want to miss the right person, but can I be honest? Yang Jiadong looked at Yi Jiani seriously. You say? Yi Jiani nodded, but looked at the serious Yang Jiadong with some confusion. To be honest, I have a good impression of you, and I can see that we are both practical people, so we might be suitable for each other. But at the same time, we are only in the initial contact stage now. In theory, we are just ordinary friends. Regardless of whether I think other women are right or not, I think it is really inappropriate for you to suddenly lose your temper in front of so many people. If we have confirmed our relationship, I should be punished for any inappropriate behavior, but as a man, I have to save my face outside. If there is something, I should go home to discuss it. Kneeling on the keyboard or something like that is fine. Don't you think so? Yang Jiadong's words seemed to lack emotional intelligence, but they were very pertinent. During the two people's contact, he showed his real character. These words made Yi Jiani nod slightly. Well, okay, what you said does make sense. I really shouldn't have lost my temper before. But girls definitely have their willful moments, and you men are supposed to pamper women.